Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 529. Yeah, it's October 22nd, 2024, and tonight, going to have our Tour Championship winners both join us tonight. I feel like opportunities to talk to them are plentiful this year, and so sometimes you have to space them out just right. I can't think of a better time than now as we're closing out the season, or have closed out the season for the most part. And we have a couple of incredible winners. In just a moment, we're going to have Missy Gannon join us. And even after we talked to him, just a week ago or so.
We literally talked to him last week. Now, last week kind of had a cruddy internet connection. I'm hoping this week is a little bit better.
We'll get plenty, I'm sure, from Gannon Buhr as well. So Missy Gannon, Gannon Buhr, and I'm not going to delay any longer. Let's bring her in. We've got Missy Gannon.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
We're good. We're not $35,000 richer good, but
Speak for yourself. You don't know what happened today.
Oh yeah, dude.
Good scratch off day.
At best, you lucked into an extra $35K. You didn't go out and
I didn't earn anything.
Earn it in that capacity. Well, Missy, here we are, 48 hours removed. You had a relatively modest drive back home, but how are you feeling 48 hours after this big victory?
It's funny. It feels a lot like deja vu in a way, because it's exactly what I did last year. I won, and then I drove 8 hours, and then I hopped on an interview with you guys, pretty much.
If we can make this an annual thing, I'm sure you and your accountant won't mind, or Tom.
Right.
I was just gonna say that's about as good as deja vu could get, or some kind of annual repeat. How does it feel? Congratulations. That's I think an obvious statement for sure. But how does it feel with the successes you've had at this particular event? I mean, we made a graphic explicitly showing just how much money you win at the Tour Championship. But how does it feel to perform so well at this specific event?
It makes me wonder if I should, move to North Carolina or something, because apparently I love that place for disc golf. So no, I think the course really just, the course is there, and especially Nevin really just played to my strengths. And I hear a lot of people talk about the luck factor of playing in the woods, but I think a lot of people forget about the skill of being accurate. And that's not just, being able to throw a disc to a basket in a wide open field. It's about being able to, throw the disc through a specific shape and a specific line. And I think it's kind of that skill is kind of losing its luster on tour, I think, because we don't play that many really wooded courses. That's just been kind of something that I've been thinking about, and how much touch and finesse is required at those courses at the end of the year for the Pro Tour Championship. And it makes me proud to know that I'm one of the most proficient in that skill area. And it's again, suits my game, and I couldn't be happier to be able to take down those championships.
So you've maybe clearly heard some of the rumblings around maybe some of the internets about how your final round went, and maybe you got a little lucky in some shots here and there. And one of the things that I had said was, yes, it's the woods. Everybody gets lucky at some point, and unlucky for that matter. In the long run, it probably all evens out. And I think of one of the shots that you threw, I don't remember hardly any of the holes, but you kicked a tree up into the left of the basket and kicked almost straight right towards the basket. Whatever, not a big deal. Maybe saved you a stroke, maybe it didn't, hard to say. But what I said to people was, yeah, but she got to the basket. She got pin high. She made it, nobody else did. If you kick a tree halfway down the fairway, guess what? Yeah, you can get a lucky or unlucky break, but you still have to get up there. And we've seen it in a lot of different places where, sometimes 5 feet matters a lot, sometimes it doesn't. It just, you have to get up to the basket even to get those last second lucky kicks.
Yeah, and I think that it's easy to kind of hone in on the final round
Hmm.
luck, whereas what if you look at every single round, we all got some sort of kick here and there, but it
Hmm.
just seems more glaring when it's coming down the stretch, and it feels like it's more important. And I mean that happens even when you look back at a bad round, a bad final round, and it's like, oh, I wish I could have done better on this hole, but it's like, yeah, but you had two to three other rounds that probably there were strokes there that you could think of that you could have done better on. So yeah, I think it's just it always kind of comes down to that final round, and those are just the ones that kind of stick out in people's minds. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's also you know just again, yeah, it's part of the game, and yeah, it is what it is.
And I don't want to dwell on this too much. Did anyone get a luckier kick than Own on the final hole? Like that was maybe one of the most miraculous things I've seen all year.
Yeah,
It reminds me of a year ago at USDGC when she skipped up onto the green of 5 just with the most miraculous skip, and then she shanks it off to the right here, kisses the light post, barely makes it over, and it saves her literally thousands of dollars.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
it just
absolutely.
things just kind of even out in the long run. I
Right,
feel.
totally. And I mean, it's again, that's like a different. Maybe people have different reactions to different forms of luck, but in the grand scheme, my shots were maybe coming in fast and then got a lucky kick. But I mean, to be fair, and I told Owen this, I was like, wow, that was one of the worst shots I've seen in a while as a joke. And she takes those jokes really graciously, and we have a really great relationship on the course. So she was like, I know, I don't know what happened there. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
One specifically regarding that shot, if you pause long enough, and I have the opportunity to see a camera angle or so, but if you pause long enough, in the background of Own throwing that shot, you see Kristen in silver, and it's, as you can imagine, not too much emotion. However, there was enough to maybe give you the idea of like, what the F just happened. And to be fair, the whole world had a WTF reaction. It was a matter of, was it out of jubilation or was it out of just pure, disbelief? And
Totally,
it was
totally. And there
it
was a
was
lot on camera you didn't see, and I'm not gonna it's nothing major or anything, but yeah, I mean, you could definitely see the awe in Kristen's eyes of kind of like, how did that happen? And then, just sort of, you know, wow, this is again, kind of is what it is, but also like, what?
And those are the exact type of kicks that happen in the woods. You just don't see them a lot. Like,
right.
like this is just, you happen to hit a pole. No different than a tree if someone throws it. So
yeah, or if that exact same scenario plays out in round 1, it gets talked about, but it's not nearly as big of a deal, right? Because like you said, there's so many opportunities throughout a weekend. So definitely some excitement. You were trying to keep all the excitement away in terms of just kind of locking things down. And even in the booth, there's always this wild challenge, or this crazy challenge of, okay, is this lockdown? How are, I don't want to say how are we selling it, I just want to call what's there, but clearly we don't know. And so thinking about your emotions while you're out there, when do you get calm? When were you really comfortable out on the in that final round?
Legitimately, when that final upshot was inside the bullseye.
Fair.
Because I mean, think about it. Okay, first of all, Owen makes that shot and everybody's going kind of crazy, and she's dying on the floor, and like we saw all of that. And so I'm thinking, okay, I know now they both have birdie putts, and I'm about to shoot my 4th shot to try to get my par. I'm not trying to think like this, but I'm like, there is a chance that I can double bogey this hole, and then we're all in a playoff. Like, if I throw that shot and I go OB left, even that would be my plan. Go OB left, so at least I cross the green. But then that still leaves me like circle 2 to try to make a bogey putt. So like that was a legitimate thought in my mind, that there's still a good chance that I could double bogey this hole if I mess up this upshot after all of that excitement and craziness. And so I took a second. Everyone was kind of, reacting to Owen's shot, and I take a sip of water and I kind of collect myself. I already kind of decided what I was going to throw on that shot before she even threw her shot. And so at least I had that going for me, where I had a game plan going into that shot. But like, I don't think you would necessarily realize how many nerves, how nervous I was on that approach, because of all the things that could go wrong. And then that would be just like insane. So yeah, I was not calm until I saw that shot was perfect.
Fair enough. And then, we just talked about the last 2 rounds, and obviously your scores were, wildly different. How much different did your game feel? If you will say combine rounds 1 and 2, and then, play those against rounds 3 and 4 as a single, act. If you can just compare those 2, 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4, how did your game feel to you? The scoring was clearly very different, but how did the game feel?
I mean, you saw the whole thing. I was throwing the disc well every single round, but the first 2 rounds I could not finish. I could not put the disc in the basket from the parts of the green that I just are automatic typically for me. I don't know what it was. I was feeling pretty nervous, and I said it in my post-round interview. For some reason, I felt like jittery, and I just couldn't quite settle into myself. And I can't even. I did not make any adjustments other than telling myself, snap out of it. You can do this. The one part of the game that's missing right now is the easier part. I'm hitting all of these lines. I'm throwing these shots like a madman, but I could not finish. And that's just typically not my struggle. And so I think that what gave me kind of hope is looking back at MVP. And I had a very similar situation happen there, where my first 2 rounds were not that great on the green. And even round 1, I shot 4 down, but I still missed. I think I was like 50% C1. And so like I was 4 down, I come off the course, I'm tied for the lead. And I'm like, how did that even happen? And what could have been if I could have just put the disc in the basket? And those are things that go through our minds all the time as athletes. But yeah, I think that experience kind of gave me hope that I could turn things around, and there's really nothing I need to change. I just need to be confident and just remember who I am, and tell myself that I'm giving myself all of these opportunities. So you might as well take them, capitalize on them. So yeah, anyway, I think that the previous experience really helped in this past weekend.
Yeah, statistics wise, I looked, and on the first 2 rounds, you missed 11 circle 1 putts. The last 2 rounds, you missed 2, 1 each round. Like it just, and as you said, you're giving yourself opportunities. Just imagine, I guess, if you want to say, what would have happened, what the scores would have looked like had you been hitting those normal putts. Because as you said, those aren't putts you normally miss. You 3-putted, I think, on the second round or something like that. And it's just, that's something we're not used to seeing. Looking back, going into the first round with I don't say a 10-stroke advantage, because you don't really have that. That's what you have against some of the players. But against the top of the field, the people you play in and out with, you've got a few strokes, depending on who they are. Did that change your approach at all on this course? Did you think about that? Like, oh, well, I mean, I've got 2 or 3 on Kristen and 1 on Holland, or whatever the numbers were, 2 on Owen, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I don't think so. When I was trying to kind of figure out what was going on the first 2 rounds and why I felt like I wasn't, wasn't being able to finish out the holes, I did contemplate, like, do I feel too comfortable, or, what's, is that part of it? But I don't think so. For the most part, I feel like I was approaching it as if I didn't have any sort of stroke advantage, because like you said, it was only 1 to 3 on my closest 3 competitors, and so it's really not a lot. And especially at Nevin, that can happen in literally hold two, I feel like. I don't think that it really changed my approach. I just, felt really solid in my game plan, and I just wanted to, throw the shots that I was throwing well in practice and that I've thrown well in the past. And so, I was doing that, and just couldn't finish out. But I don't think the stroke advantage really had an effect on me.
Following up with that, there's clearly a lot of chatter about the format, from people absolutely loving it to people absolutely hating it. I know, shocker. Everything in between.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the format? And then I guess the follow-up is, how do some of your, the other women that you talk to and are friends with, how do they? But how do you personally feel about the way the format was implemented this year regarding the strokes?
Yeah, I think that there are arguments for previous formats versus what we landed on this year. I think they're all valid. Like we all love a Cinderella story. And when Nathan Queen did what he did, it was amazing. It was such a cool storyline for him. Now, on the flip side of that, we have these players that have, played really well all year, have earned their tour championship spot, and then are out in round one. And I mean, again, that there is an argument to say, like, you have to come ready to play round one as if it's going to be your last round, because it potentially could be. So that's it. I think that's like an exciting version of that for the fans, maybe. But I think for the players, it's like, we've grinded it out all year. We've played really well, and, cool. Yeah, the Cinderella stories are cool, but also, like, I don't know, like we have consistently been in the top, 5, every event or whatever, on average. And I think that rewarding those players with the stroke advantage kind of really makes a lot of sense. And this is like the Pro Tour Championship, a culmination of the entire year coming to a head. And, I feel like it made the most sense out of all the formats that we've had to date.
How did you have any serious talks with your friends as to, because a lot of people would maybe say, well, of course Missy loves this format. she gets the biggest advantage. But did you have any in-depth conversations with anyone else about the format or and possible
not
changes?
In depth, but I do think that like speaking of, like, last year we had 2 rounds, and then there was a cut, and then everything reset, and there were quite a few players that you would expect to be kind of through to the end that were done after 2 rounds. And I think, like those players, I think of like Holland and them, like, I don't know exactly what their thoughts are, but I do think that they also felt like this format felt right, just as far as how hard we've worked all season, and gaining that stroke advantage. And like you said, it's like I had 10 strokes, but only 10 strokes on the 20th person or whatever, the I don't know what it was, 16th through 20th, I don't know. But realistically I only had 1 stroke on Holland, and so on and so forth. So I think it made a lot of sense, and I think that other people, other competitors, also feel that way as well. Because I think, like, I think there's comments out there that are like, why even try if you're all the way down? And it's still a really big honor to have made it into the championship, and you're leaving with money no matter what. And there's still a really good chance that you could shoot hot. And I mean, we saw it with like Silva Sarn, and she shot a really hot round and kind of. She was in contention in the end. It was going to take a little bit of a heroic finish, but she certainly was in it. And so, she was starting a bit back from the top 3, so 3 or 4. So I think there was still a chance for that.
I think the big story is Hannah Wynn, who, as we saw at MVP, fought her way in by shooting the best round of her life to get into just barely, and worked her way up to 10th place. Like that's a great example of someone who, a reason why you should, quote unquote, try as opposed to just kind of giving it up.
Yeah. And in theory, as we're saying, the Cinderella story can still be there. It would just be that much greater if somebody were to somehow, battle back or be in contention from way down there. It's not 100% impossible. Is it unlikely? Yeah. Well, that's, I think, kind of by definition what a Cinderella story should be, right? Is something that is a very rare or unexpected occurrence, but there's always that chance. And, we'll use Hannah as just one example. Yeah, if she's up there contending somehow at the end of the weekend, that would have very much been the story, as part of it, or at least part of the overall story. So you, this is, again, another big, essentially a what if, but is there any other format that has maybe interested you, or a tweak that you'd love to see, or an entirely new idea at all, or do you just show up and play with whatever they give you?
I mean, I kind of just, whatever they want to try, I'm down for it. But no, I mean, I feel like this is my, I want to say it was my 5th or 6th Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship. So like, I've seen all of the formats. I've been in all of the formats so far. So, I'm always interested to see what kind of ideas they can come up with. And I think that they're still trying to figure it out too. What's the best option? And no one's ever going to be fully satisfied, especially from the fan perspective. So, you want your favorite player to win. And if you feel like they were disadvantaged, you're going to be bummed about whatever that disadvantage felt like. So, you can't make everybody happy. And I know the Pro Tour is very well aware of that, as most of us are. And, they're doing what they can to figure out what the best option is. And I think that this was probably closest to what I think is the best option. And I think, we'll see a completely different venue next year and a different style of play. So, yeah, I think potentially if it's something that moves around a little bit, maybe that would make for different exciting things to happen for different skill levels or different styles of play, I guess you could say. So, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be a thing where we're moving around. I have no idea, but I know next year we will be out of Nevin. Shucks. But I'll do everything I can to go for time.
Yeah, and that was honestly going to be my follow-up is, will we see this much excitement? Will people feel better or worse about a format on a different style, of course, which clearly Ivy Hill, presents itself that way. So that's kind of a big to be determined, and who knows. But next year we'll see how things shake out. And
with Ivy Hill, people talk about Nevin being able to swap strokes left and right. No different than Ivy Hill. If they have all the same OB that we had at Worlds, I mean, 2-stroke swings are not out of the ordinary on that course.
Yeah. Or you guys just play like hole 14,
exactly.
18 times.
Hole 14 the same.
just play that 18 times. That's and you guys. There could be plenty of conversation then.
Yeah.
So
playoff goes to hole 14.
Yeah. Congratulations. This year hitting, I think I see 104,000 and change when it comes down to your earnings versus 94 last year. Obviously, those are all incredible numbers. Does any one of those numbers mean anything more or less? Does, getting to 6 figures, does do you have a goal ever of, 130? I mean, what does that money mean to you at this point?
Yeah, I don't think I didn't really consciously think of it. And, I think again, it's like nothing. Yes, I have worked to have, the success that I did this season. But it's really just goes to, the Pro Tour and the partners that we have in the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the PDGA having, just payouts are getting bigger and bigger. And, we know that disc golf is sort of on the downslope of the boom and the plateau. And so the fact that I have reached my highest, career earnings for a season, even with that sort of downslope that we have, is amazing. And it doesn't go unnoticed by me, and I'm sure not by many other players. It's just a testament to how hard everyone's working to ensure that the players are taken care of and, doing what they need to do to get the sponsors that we need in the sport to keep pushing those purses higher and higher. And I'm just really grateful and thankful for everybody that's put in any support and in any hard work to get that support. I certainly am just really grateful for everybody that's had a hand in that.
This is a pretty random question that just came up by me clicking a few buttons. Do you remember the last time you didn't cash? This was, yeah. Do you remember when was the last time or the time before that you didn't cash?
What I do know is that I have one, I think the longest cash streak going on, current cash streak of at least MPO, FPO, whatever. I don't know. I think I'm even possibly beating the longest cash streak in MPO. That's current. I don't know if that's true.
Okay, I would, so. I'd believe it, but you. So then
thing might tell us that, but I don't know.
Okay, no, that's worth looking up. But so you must remember the last time you didn't cash then.
Honestly, if it was as long ago as Statmando is saying it was, which is over 50 events ago, I would have to dig really deep to figure out when that was. But I would have to say it would have been like, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. Honestly.
Which is great. I'm glad you don't remember, and I'm not digging for anything negative, but I was just looking and seeing, like, looking at your earnings and then going down. I'm like, okay, you've cashed every event. Not that I'm surprised by that, but then it makes me think, well, when did you not last cash? That was, for all the trivia people out there, that was the 2021 Portland Open presented by Dynamic Discs. You finished in 19th. Now I got to drill down and find how close you were. Oh my gosh, you were one stroke out. You were one out from the bottom cash. Madison Tamino took the last cash spot, and it was a single stroke. They finished at 223. You were at 224. And then the time before that, you'd have to rewind 2 more years. But the last time you didn't cash was Portland Open in June of 2021. So.
And according to Statmando, you have 66, not including, I think, the Pro Tour finale, so we'll say 67 straight cashes, leading FPO.
Yeah.
Right now, leading MPO, Calvin Heimberg at 57. And probably 58 if you include the Pro Tour finale. Yeah, so you've got him by a whole, well, not about half a season. You got him by about a half a season.
I love it. I wasn't even thinking about records and streaks, and I did not know that. So that's awesome. I can't imagine you put much, into that. Do you much thought into that? I'm sure you should be proud, but you're not.
No. I mean, I think I just learned that whenever I looked last, because I saw Statmando and I was just like looking at I was just playing around on their website because it's fun, and that's just something that I saw, and I was like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. There were obviously Katrina Allen had held that spot with a lot of consecutive wins or cashes, so she has way more than me, in a streak, but yeah, I just was curious, what everybody else was doing, and I saw my name up there at the top, and so it's something cool that I was kind of knew in the back of my mind, after I had looked that up, I don't know, a couple months ago maybe, but no, I'm not, I don't really care. I mean, obviously it's like, if you're not cashing now, I feel like, the payouts have gotten deeper, and, I think it would be quite, glaring when and if that happens now, but like I got 22nd at Jonesboro, and I think I was like worried. I was quite worried about my chances of cashing there, because that was one of my worst finishes this year. But so it's a couple times it snuck up into my head, but I'm not consciously like thinking I'm not gonna,
because you're going out there to play your best golf, and shouldn't be worried about that. And thankfully, you don't usually have to worry about that because you're so consistent. Who had the second longest? Do you still got that tab up? Now I'm really curious.
In FPO?
Yeah, who has the second longest current?
Kristen at 54.
Okay.
And then Ella at 51.
Wow, nice. All right. So speaking of cash, 6 figures, all that good stuff. Where's the splurge? Where's the extra, fun thing?
The winter vacation?
Yeah, I was going to say, the trip.
Not Africa this year?
The house improvement, like vehicle adjustment, upgrade, traded, whatever. Where's the splurge?
I'm currently thinking about getting a hot tub.
All right.
Or I was thinking maybe a sauna because, when we were out in Finland, that was a big thing. And I just like that idea, but like they're similar in what the effects that they have or whatever. But yeah, so that's on my mind of a potential splurge.
Hot tubs are nice to relax in, more so I think than saunas, but they're also a lot more maintenance to keep up with. Like saunas are a lot less maintenance, but you don't have usually like the nighttime view. You're not usually get a glass topped one, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the significant downfall for you is that that's something you would love and enjoy so much, but you're just so rarely home for it. Right? And like the times you'd want either a sauna or a hot tub might be after a long weekend of golf, but you're literally on the other side of the country. So
basically anything that I'd want to splurge on other than like a vacation or something, it would be something that I would probably not be able to enjoy until the off season anyway. So like I think about like I really like the Morris Garage's little MG cars that those little convertibles like as a beach car, but like I'm not going to be able to drive that until we're home for the off season. So like I don't know, I feel like I'm not really somebody that splurges on a lot of extravagant things. I'm more of a saver. So that's who knows what will happen. But
so then what does Tom want to go get? Because Tom's eyeing up something, right? If you're the saver, Tom might be the spender. What does Tom want?
Honestly, he is more frugal than I am.
Okay.
It's kind of wild. So yeah, like he might get like a bike trainer thing because he mountain bikes a lot. So that's something that's on his list. But I don't even know if you call that a splurge. It's more of an exercise training equipment type thing.
So as you move into the, we just said the O word, the off season, we're moving into it. I'll say people like you, as in our top players who aren't concerned about hustling out a couple extra events, B or C or A tiers or whatever, which is awesome when they do, but you feels like that's not really your path lately. What does an off season look like for you right now as we've kind of officially begun it?
Yeah, it's such a funny feeling to kind of be home and relaxed and not have something like scheduled to do. It's almost like a weird like shock to the system because I feel like, today we unpacked a bit, we took stuff out of the camper to kind of like, start cleaning that out. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, we barely did anything today, but we did a lot today. But it felt like not enough. And I have to remember that this is time to chill out, do what I need to do at a pace that I feel comfortable doing it, and try to get out of that mode of go, practice, eat, sleep, do it all, whatever, all of the scheduled things. So it's certainly like a shock to the system, and I'm trying to be chill and not feel like guilty about chilling. But it's hard to do. It's such a strange feeling.
Yeah, and you guys deserve it. You've earned it, and rightfully, I think everyone has to kind of pull back and embrace some of that slower pace because you rarely have that opportunity. We've also seen this major flocking or migration, maybe is the right word, to Florida, specifically Pensacola. Who are all the people that are now around and in Pensacola come off season? And then you probably have visitors.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, Madison Walker grew up here, and then, Tina and Eric Oakley flocked here, and then it was just sort of a domino effect of Tina and Eric recruiting as many people as they possibly could. Started out as a joke, turned into reality for the most part, and now we're all here. So I think we owe it to Tina and Eric. I think that really sold us on this place, but. No, I think it's a really it's relatively affordable, and so for those of us who are are lucky enough to be able to even think about potentially buying a home or settling down, it's affordable. I can still continue to train after I chill for a little bit. and there's decent disc golf, at least good enough for continuing to kind of hone in on your skills and stuff like that, and plenty of field space and stuff, and places to practice. So the weather's good, and it does get chilly, but certainly not nearly as chilly as New York or Wisconsin. So yeah, it's just it doesn't feel so far away either, because we're basically Alabama, if we're being honest. So we're still pretty close to a lot of things, and now that the tour has kind of shifted to start in Florida, it's become even more enticing to live here, because then the beginning of the season doesn't feel like, I remember trekking it from New York to Arizona and having to like start the tour basically, a week early just to even get down to where the tour started. So now, it's a little bit nicer for all of us who live here to start the tour down here and then go from there. So yeah, it's been funny to watch year after year somebody else come in to Pensacola and settle down. And now, I know a couple other people are in other parts of Florida. Obviously, we know the Macbeths are down not too far from here. It's 6 or so hours, but still. Sure. They're so a lot of people are coming down here, and I think it has a lot to offer.
You talked about off-season training. Like, after you relax, when does that start for you? Like, when do you think about, like, I should really probably start to throw plastic in a serious mindset? I mean, you might go out for a casual league round or whatever, you never know. But when does honing your skills come in again? Like, when to try to knock the rust off?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, it kind of depends on there are so many opportunities to go and play in January in other places, like New Zealand has been offered up and things like that. So it feels like the tour could be starting earlier for a lot of people, including myself. So maybe it'll look a little differently this year, but I feel like last year I really started to kind of feel like I needed to get back into at least putting in the backyard more often and throwing into the net if I couldn't do anything else. Probably right around the new year, January 1st, I feel like I really started to feel like the pressure of, hey, we got to get going. We got to start doing stuff. Now, last year we were doing a lot more on the house, so I feel like there were things kind of pulling me away from that. But this year I don't foresee that many projects. And so it might be a struggle to keep me away from going to the course or going to the field, because I'll feel like, okay, I really do just need to do something. But that's okay. I love it. My dogs love it. Tom loves it. So if it turns out that we play every other weekend or something, great, but yeah, really getting down to like the nitty gritty and sort of like form stuff and putting and stuff like that, probably will wait until after the holidays.
And one of the things that I think a lot of people noticed this year, especially more towards even the end of the year, was your forehand game. You pulled out some pretty important forehands this year. I think of MVP, hole 18. Like, I feel like 2 or 3 years ago, that's not a shot you would have thrown as a forehand, that you'd have tried to turn it over. How conscious are you about working on that, and where do you feel like that is right now for you? Like where do you rate that skill?
Yeah, it's hit or miss, I would say. I feel like if there's if you could get the yips throwing, that's probably where I get the yips a little bit. It kind of depends. I think I feel pretty good about my standstill forehands. There's a lot less going on, and I can kind of just focus on where I'm aiming, and I'm not trying to power up on the disc. But every once in a while, and I even think about hole 6 at the Pro Tour Championship. It's one of the more open holes in the middle, in like the early third of the course, where it's on the little hillside, on the little like bubble hill thing in the middle of the fairway, or off to the right, I guess. And that's a pretty. Silva made the backhand look easy. Henna made the backhand look easy, but it just felt like such a forehand shot. And 2 out of the 3 rounds, or really 3 out of the 4 rounds, I didn't really throw that shot well. when I was throwing it well in practice. And so that's why I didn't shy away from it, because I was throwing it well in practice, and I can do those shots in practice. Everything feels really good. But as soon as we get into tournament time, I feel like, I'm thinking about people thinking about my forehand, whether or not they are, but I feel like I'm putting that pressure on myself, that like, if I mess this forehand up, I'm going to look like a dummy. Like, why don't you just throw the turnover backhand? You do that so well. But realistically, it's like, if I don't do it ever, I'm never going to learn how to do it. So I might as well try it not might as well try it during the pressure moments, but like, I still need to try it during the pressure moments, or else I'm I can throw it fine in practice, and I need to learn how to throw it fine when the pressure's on. And the only way I'm going to really learn how to do that is to do it.
Building that confidence and proving to yourself. It seems like, because now, as much as Johnny just mentioned that, of course, as announcers, we're noticing those things, picking it up, just as you maybe are talking about. But then to see you execute a handful of them, and they look really good, we're thinking, okay, this is just part of the new, I don't want to call it upgrade, but this is something else that you're doing, and we very quickly can make this the norm. And there's not even really a conversation to be had about it anymore, because if this becomes standard or normal for her, then that's all part of it. Well, I guess, speaking of commentators, is there, whether it's any of the rounds, during the week, or even now, like I said, 48 hours later, is there anything you ever go back and rewatch for any reason, either very analytical or just as for fun, or what did I miss here, or what they say there? Is there anything on any capacity that you go back and relive?
Yeah, totally. I mean, whether it's for my own, feeling of like being proud of myself, I like to go watch, some shots back. Or, for example, hole 15, final round, I don't know how that disc flew through all of those trees in the middle, and I wanted to see how it happened, because I didn't understand it either. And so, I like went back and watched that shot, and I mean, it's still hard to tell what happened. It just missed everything. And then didn't miss didn't miss at the end when I needed it to hit a tree. It did. So, those kind of shots are fun to kind of go back on and look at. And, even watching other people's shots, like watching, own shot on hole 11, the downhill with the death drop off at the end with the elevated basket. I'm just, I'm curious. You can only see most of the flight, but you can't really see what the reaction was on the ground or whatever. And I, watched her shot there to see how perfect she threw it, and it was absolutely perfect. It didn't get any sort of weird reaction. It just scuttled right up there. So like, I like to watch everybody's shots, because I feel like, I could learn something myself, and, or I just, again, I just want to relive those moments that were so special.
With regard to that, I want absolutely unfiltered response here. What's the dumbest thing you've heard me? I was going to say or Val, but Val doesn't say anything dumb, so I'll just excuse her from it right off the bat. What is there anything that you hear, presumably from me then, that's like, oh, he's totally off on that, or no, I wasn't thinking that, or doing that, or trying that, or
she's probably got a list.
I was going to say, maybe you have a whole list and we don't have all night for it. But is there anything that you have heard? I'll say anytime this year where you're just like, no, that's so wrong. I mean, you can tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I think specifically with you, I don't know that I can like pull anything out of my head other than like specifically, but will say, I'm not gonna let you all the way off the hook.
Okay.
I will say that I feel like we can create like a drinking game when you commentate, when you say mostly, okay, don't take this the wrong way.
No, I'm here for it. I want to get better.
I love accents. With like I will, when I'm speaking to like Jack from Jomez, he has a British accent. I can't help it. I like to just do accents, and I just like hearing accents. You have a very Wisconsin accent, sir.
Yes.
And so when I hear you say like awkward.
Awkward.
I feel like we all, Tom and I
Awkward?
literally sit there and we say drink, whether we're
Awkward?
drinking a
Because I say
seltzer.
it a lot or I say it weird?
You say it a little, kind of a lot.
Little bit of both. Okay.
But mostly
a
because
crutch
like
word,
somebody
then.
has an awkward stance, or like
yeah.
I would say awkward, and you say awkward.
Yeah, because
Awk?
it is spelled AWK, so you would think it would be
Like-
awkward, but
Like hawk. Hawk.
yeah, but we as Wisconsinites, and I'm sure I do the same thing. We say it like an octopus. Awkward.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I get that.
Awkward.
My wife
Awkward.
makes fun of me because the way I say helicopter, like it's a hill, HIL.
Mhm.
It's a helicopter. And she's like, no, it's a helicopter.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a helicopter. She's like, no, it's a helicopter. I'm like, whatever. So it's a
Awkward.
Wisconsin thing. Yeah.
Now I gotta make sure. Now I gotta make
Next
sure.
season, Terry will
Awkward.
not say the word awkward.
That's
at all.
precarious.
Oh my
That's a
God.
precarious stance. No,
I
no.
don't
I,
want to
his
say
name is
you
Thesaurus.
really don't. You don't say it like a lot, but you
Okay.
definitely say it enough for me to have noticed.
Awesome.
Possibly because of the way
Well,
you say it.
sure. Then
but
it's I think
also-
exaggerated probably.
This conversation
also
just got a
now
little
it is-
Awkward.
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 But I will tell you, it is funny every time we hear you say it. And again,
Okay.
I don't know how many times Tom and I will look at each other and one of us will say drink. So-
I asked it because I'm serious in that
Yeah.
I do want to hear feedback, and that's one I've never heard.
That's
So
great.
it's great to know, and believe it or not, there's things like that I figuratively do put on a list and think, okay, either address this or fix this or don't say this, or this word doesn't really mean that, or whatever the case might be. There's all sorts of those things, or crutch words. And accents. I mean, I'll say it. Brad Hammock was giving me a hard time when I was in Arizona a few months ago. He's like, he was ripping on me for the way I say basket. He's like, is it a
Okay.
basket or a basket? Like, again, that's I think part of our accent here in Wisconsin, or how we even say you pick up your disc golf bag. If you say bag or bag,
Yeah,
like
bag.
there's a few of those words that
Bag.
probably just
Bagel.
ring so loudly for other people based on what part of the country you're in. But
Totally.
they're all
Totally.
worth hearing. Like those are,
I also think, and again, I don't know if you say it a lot. I can't tell you that. All I can
Okay.
tell you is I think it's just something that Tom and I have picked up on, and it's just something that we have fun with now.
That's great.
So yeah, that's
I love it.
literally it. I will say, okay, I don't know who specifically the commentator is or was,
Mhm.
but I do think like overall, maybe not as much recently, but like when commentators do say things like, "Oh, she must be feeling the pressure because of whatever, if they missed a putt or they did something like that," like making those assumptions on what the player is feeling is something you just don't know, and there's like it's possible that is how they're feeling,
Sure.
but I think there was something like at Music City Open. I didn't play that event, but I was watching, and there was a good battle going on between Kristen and Holland, and Holland started to kind of have a couple hiccups on the final round, and whoever was commentating was like, "Oh, she must be feeling the pressure. She must be feeling Kristen's pressure, coming
Sure.
for her, whatever." And I'm like, you don't know that. She just missed a putt, like it's, and now everybody can go back and see who commentated on that one. But either way,
I think it was Charlie.
No, and I think your point is so valid though, because there's the idea of mostly our color commentators is to bring the viewers the player's perspective, or try to somewhat be in the minds or the position and to describe why something is happening. That's essentially what the color commentator's role is, whomever that might be, on men or women, whatever. And then it's going to vary based on that color commentator's personal experiences. Were they in pressured situations to this degree? Were they not? Was it frequent? It is kind of interesting for everybody to have those different levels, and I think some of them are, like you said, just going to be assumptions. And all we know, maybe Holland, when she rocked back for her putt, there was a rock under her foot and it felt weird, and she pulled it by an inch, and we know that can be the difference of a good putt or not sometimes. So I totally hear what you're saying, and I think that's great feedback, because being in someone's mind is is,
and part of it is just trying to build the drama, right? Like there is the job of the commentators a little bit to try to amp up the audience. And part of that is, even if Holland wasn't feeling Kristen, to put that out there into the world might help build excitement for the audience. That, oh yeah, maybe she is. Like, yeah, like I could understand that because that's how I would feel. Like things like that. So guessing, yeah. I mean, it's, and like Terry said, it all depends on who's doing the commentating, whether they have the experience of all that stuff. So
and I would just say, like, to counter that, which again, that is building the drama, I know is like a big part of commentating and all of that. But on the flip side, it's like, we don't want to make Holland seem like a chump or something. You know what I mean?
Or that she's weak, or
that she folds under pressure or anything like that. Yeah.
Right. So that's like the balance that's like tough to watch as a competitor, watching that and hearing that. I'm like, man, I hope they never said that about me, because I know I never cared about that, or whatever. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess even as a bigger, takeaway here is, if there's ever anything that you feel like was assumed or inaccurate, I've known you ever since really you came onto the scene from a professional side of things. Don't ever hesitate to reach out. My feelings will never be hurt. I get a lot of other people that come at me in a much meaner way. But seriously, you and I'll say this of every player, obviously, always can reach out and be like, no, this was inaccurate, or that didn't happen, or whatever. Me personally, I want to put out the best possible representation of what's going on. And you're right. Sometimes I think there could either be assumptions or just flat out things we think we heard, or whatever the case might be. And there's a million scenarios. You're just giving one tiny example, but I am speaking generically. And I'll say, if there's ever anything that's like, this, oh, well, we heard her shoulder hurt, and then, we're making a big deal out of it. I think something like that could absolutely does happen sometimes. You see or hear or think something, and then maybe we make a bigger deal out of it than what it really was in the first place. So
totally. And just to be clear, I don't think I could ever be a live commentator, so I don't envy your job. Like,
I think you could.
All.
I think you could.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe with some lots of experience and practice, but yeah, I still don't I don't envy that position to be in, and to have to have somebody in your ear while also trying to speak. I can't even imagine that being. I've done that even with just like little press conferences, but I can't imagine trying to finish a thought while hearing somebody in your brain. It's a hard job, and I definitely understand that.
Thank you.
It's not that hard if Terry can do it.
No, what I'll say, like, I'll give one example, and I know it was on the MPO side this weekend. One of the Nates thought that, and I don't now remember if it got verbalized or if it was all of us, on mute on our end, but one of the Nates noticed somebody walking up 10's fairway, and it looked a little gingerly, and we couldn't tell if there was like a possible injury, or were they just kind of awkward, not awkwardly, were they just walking up a hill? There you go. I just said it. Drink. You're going to get hammered tonight. Or were they just walking up the hill in an unusual fashion? And there's a perfect case of like, well, okay, did we see something or did we not? And is it worth mentioning or not? We'll use a good example too of Own in the last year or two, whenever she's possibly grabbed her elbow. Did she have a ton of pain? Did she have a little pain? Is this something that we should be pointing out or just making a light reference of? Those are always, some of the, nuances of what you do or don't worry about. Or what I love hearing, I'll just say this, I love hearing, and it's tough because I am deaf in one ear, but I listen, if I hear it, I love hearing the little interactions between yourself and Tom, or, Owen and Justin, or whomever. And it doesn't just have to be catty, but anytime those interactions can be heard, I think can be super valuable. And I repeat them sometimes because I don't think
it is harder to
hear them.
It's harder to hear them on the broadcast.
So I sometimes will repeat them, and I think that was a good example was at GMC. Holland, I think, made some remark about not wanting the OB on 4. The rocks were still like really close to the OB, or the rock line makes up the OB line, but then you have a terrible stance. And she kind of uttered something, and I repeated what she said. And then next thing you know, the internet that night was like, the commentator said this should be happening. I'm like, whoa. Shut up. That's I was simply relaying a thought that, a player had. So anyway, long story long. Any feedback you ever have, though, genuinely, I would love to hear it if anything ever, comes up.
Great, sounds good. I don't foresee that being much, but yeah, just I do watch a lot of coverage, and it's mostly MPO, I would say, because it's after my round, and I'll watch them while I'm relaxing. But every once in a while, I'll go back, not necessarily for the commentation, just to watch. But yeah, I am interested in, hearing everything and hearing how you guys even do what you do. And yeah, it's definitely fun to go back and kind of analyze, but I can't think of anything, really off the top of my head other than the examples I've given that I feel like I can.
All right. Well, then you analyze this. I want your input on this. In a post-round interview of, I think, third round, finally, Perks or Brian, I think it was Brian, after I kept talking about it, we saw Own straddle putting from basically every distance. And then in the post-round interview, she goes on to say, well, I missed some putts last weekend, and I watched Kristen, and I've watched Sarah Holcomb, so now I'm straddle putting. What the... How do you take one of the best putters on the planet? What do you take away from that whole thought process?
Honestly, the only thing I can take away from that is that, lucky for her, she basically only uses her arm to putt. So honestly, it doesn't seem to matter how she stands. Because even when she was staggered standing, she is all arm, all wrist, and it just snaps it right in there. So I think it seems like it didn't have much of an impact on her putting ability.
She missed 2 C1X this weekend.
Yeah. And I noticed it too. I didn't notice that she, like her stance. I didn't ask her, what was going on. I didn't hear her post round interview. So I didn't really think about it. And I honestly had to kind of pause and be like, how long has she been straddle putting? I couldn't even remember, last time I watched her putt, I guess, but it would have had to be MVP or throw pink. So I don't know when she started doing that. I guess it was just this weekend. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I think lucky for her, she doesn't really need to use a lot of her legs. So I guess either way works. But that is where I can speak to that is go back to my first 2 rounds where I did not putt well. And like I said, I didn't change anything going into round 3. I didn't think about it. I knew that it was just, I wasn't feeling confident or something. It was a mental thing. It wasn't a physical thing. And I do whatever you want. You can be like Owen, you can be like me, you can be like whoever you want to be like. But I would say, for the most part, she likely didn't have to change anything. It just, things happen, and sometimes you don't make putts, even if you're on Scoggins. And just not to overthink it, and just, if you're going through that and you feel like you've been such a solid putter, and then just 1 or 2 rounds don't go your way, don't overthink it. It's likely just was whatever happened was just mostly mental, and just continue to do what you've been doing, and stay confident and believe in yourself, and the putts will fall. So yeah, I think a lot of people kind of get a little stressed out when you have a very weird, off day, and you're one of the best putters in the world, and something happens where your day is off. And a lot of, there are a lot of people that will just be like, I need to change everything, or I need to change something. and that's not it's just simply not true unless you're, hurting yourself while doing whatever you're doing, or, if you're throwing forehands and everything's hurting, then yeah, you should probably change something. But yeah, for the most part, it's likely mental, especially when it comes to putting. Just stick with it and stay confident, and yeah, you should be fine.
All right. Well, my final question that just popped in my head before we cut you loose. My final question will be related to Player of the Year, and what I'll lead into that with is from a PDGA straight statistics formula calculation scenario, blah 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 blah. They have you sitting in third. That's without this last weekend. I don't know how much that factors in actually, but they have you in third for Player of the Year. Kristen in first, Owen in second, you in third, Holland in fourth, and Evelina in fifth. So just to kind of set some. However, on the Disc Golf Pro Tour side of things, that has a media vote, a little bit of a fan vote. There's some stats that are built in. I'm not going to claim to know any of that. I just know there's a lot more to it, and it's far more. There's subjectivity to it as opposed to raw numbers.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that title? Let's just assume the PDGA one is going to be similar to where it stands as of a few days ago. How do you feel about the one that's voted on and has maybe more subjectivity? Do you feel like the argument's there for you to absolutely be Player of the Year? Have you put any thought into it?
I certainly was looking at the PDGA Player of the Year, just more out of curiosity. I don't really understand what they're doing over there, in the sense that like there aren't any European Elite Series that were counted on those points, which is strange to me. Both Kristen and I have an Elite Series European win, but neither of them are on our, I don't believe, last I saw, they weren't on there.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's just, I'm not sure why they have chosen just the events that they've chosen, which is pretty much all the rest. But that kind of stuck out to me. Anyway, that was a side.
No, it's really valid, because now it's got me wondering. Like, I see the European Open is on there,
yeah,
but none of the DGPTs of in Europe. Like, obviously the win at the European Disc Golf Festival,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a very valid point to make. I appreciate that, but
I don't think it would change anything, because I think Kristen would have a win and I would have a win.
Sure,
so it would all be the same. But it just makes me curious about what's going on there.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. No, that's a fair question.
Yeah, and so I see I'm 100 points back there, and that would take me playing 6 to 7 more A tiers at the end of this year to possibly even pass that.
But they only count 3.
Oh, okay. Great.
Oh, really?
So then I don't even have to think about it.
A maximum of 3.
Yeah, we were notified last week, actually, I believe. Someone, the PDGA hopped in and said they only take, if you look at anyone's, like a good one to take would be, who in MPO, Presnell. Presnell plays a lot of A tiers, but I believe they only take the top 3. They only take 3 A tier win or 3 A tier events in your record. So you could only rack up 45 more points from there, I believe.
Then that was something that I did look at, just to see like where I was and if it was even possible that I would even want to try. But then the Disc Golf Pro Tour one, there's only so much I can say, because I've done what I've done. What's out there is out there. And with the subjectivity of the votes, it is what it's going to be. When I won the Pro Tour Player of the Year back in 2021, after I had my very, successful finish to the year, there was a lot of back and forth on, what, how valid that was. And, at the end of the day, I was just like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. That's how.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Whatever. Yeah. And so, like, I just, I don't think much about it. Obviously, it would be really, really cool. And that's why I was curious about the PDGA one, because I knew that was a little bit easier for me to understand and figure out if that was even possible. And then, the Pro Tour one, we kind of will just see what happens. I did what I needed to do, and I'm proud of my season. And however you want to vote, you vote, and whatever whatever other metrics are involved,
I could assume
I have nothing more to give. I just did what I did.
I could assume though you hopefully also recognize the truly the challenge. I would say because everyone has there's a lot of compelling arguments. You have Kristen with her amount of wins plus a major, you with a major. And the wins that you've put together, plus the huge paycheck at the end in this big event again. Evelina with 2 majors, which is more than any other woman. So and Holland, who had a great year as well in collecting events, but no majors. So you got to wonder if that immediately it's a very valid argument and conversation to be had. In my opinion, or the NPO
I mean,
side
I would throw my
year.
hat in the ring. However anybody wants to feel about that, I don't care. So, but I would certainly, I do agree. In all seriousness, I do agree that last year was clear cut. Nobody in our field would dispute the fact that Kristen was the player of the year. This year, I don't think it's as clear cut.
Absolutely not.
As it has ever been, really. So, I certainly think that there should be at least an extended conversation and everything laid out there.
That's why I genuinely ask, because it is a difficult. You also now, assuming you nor Kristen, I don't think Owen would get there, but you ultimately are going to have the season money earnings title of 104,000, where Kristen's 101, Owen's at 91. Evelina with the 2 majors and not as much overall consistency has 76,000. So that's just one more thing that people can put in into their consideration. So great conversation to be had there. I completely agree with you. And I lied. I do have one more quick question before we let you go, and we're going to catch up with Gannon briefly. But contract, where are you at in terms of a Discraft contract or free agency or whatever? Where do things currently stand for you right now?
Currently, I am going into my second year of a 2-year contract that I signed at the beginning of last year. So
that makes it easy.
I am solidly with Discraft for 2025
Okay, well that one's easy enough. All right, so now the final
awkward at all.
Awkward. What do I say again?
I hope I didn't make it think too hard.
No,
about
you didn't. I want to know.
Sad if you stop.
He can't. Don't worry. He can't. I've tried to get him to stop saying the word "close it" for a generation, and he still says "closet weird." So.
I do think you're rubbing off on Val a little bit though, because she has said not awkward. She has said a little bit. I guess whatever the Pacific Northwest version of awkward is, but she says it every once in a while too, which is Val. I mean, I would say awkward too when it comes to a weird stance on a side hill, whatever.
Curious. No, I do seriously mean it though. Like there's a list of, even this weekend I picked up a list of things that I feel like I'm saying too much, and I have a set of notes for myself. But anyway, so now my last one for you, it's not even a question, it's a demand, and that is please recognize or thank or shout out, whatever you want to call it. Completely open floor to say whatever you want to fans, supporters, sponsors, whatever it might be.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, obviously, thank you to my sponsors, Discraft, Grip, Whale Sacks, and Ledgestone. They've been, supporters of me for a very long time. And, we've, as our team, we've grown and gotten better every year. And, I definitely have a lot to, I owe a lot to them for keeping me on tour and, letting me continue to do my job with a little less stress. And yeah, I mean, Tom, my husband, my caddy, everybody loves him, and he's got his own fan base going on, I feel like now. So, that's really cool to see. And he's I've said so many things about him already, but yeah, I don't know that I could do this without him. So he certainly is a big part of why I've had so much success on the road. And yeah, I mean, all of the fans and my friends and family who have been watching and honestly starting to play themselves. Part of our family has been starting to play disc golf and picking it up. And that's really cool to see. And yeah, thank you guys. Thanks to Disc Golf Pro Tour. Thanks everybody, the PDGA, everybody who has been able to provide a platform for us as players in any capacity to do what we can do and show you guys what we got and interact with people through these various platforms and, see who we are beyond just a player. And yeah, so it's been really fun, great year, and I'm looking forward to 2025.
I love it. And thank you. Thank you for your just continued professionalism, the way you carry yourself on the course, the way that you always interact, not just with your fellow competitors, which you can see, your sportsmanship at the highest level, but just how you roll with the punches, whether that might be an offline shot or a missed putt, and everybody we count on you. We're predictable. We count on a smile that comes from you, regardless the outcome of a shot. And just the way you week in and week out are the way you show up, and that consistency on so many different levels, not just with the play, but then with the personality. And we all very much love and appreciate it. So thank you. And to Tom, the team that you guys are, there are plenty of jealous, I'll say, husbands and wives out there that I think look to the relationship that you guys have, that you share with the world. And I think it's probably very inspiring for quite a few people. So we love seeing that as well. So thank you for joining us tonight. Congrats on an insanely accomplished season, and then collecting yet another big check just to round you off and head you into the off season. But we absolutely love it. So thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Missy.
All right,
Until
take care,
time.
Missy. Until next time.
We'll see you next year.
You keep winning.
Book it.
We'll keep having you. It's that easy. Even if you don't win, we'll have you. But we love it when you win. All right, see ya. Good night.
Thanks, Missy.
Bye. Good night.
Missy Gannon.
Cumbersome, dangerous, inconvenient, perilous, risky, troublesome, uncomfortable, unwieldy. Those are words you could use instead of awkward.
Precarious.
Precarious. It's not in the list, but that would
I
work.
think precarious is a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny what some people pick up on. There are words like, I know I have told you different words that you have used and things like that. That's one that I never picked up on. So,
well, it sounds like it's as much accent as it is
it's
frequency.
Sure.
Maybe even more so accent.
More so accent. More so how you pronounce
or
it.
pronunciation.
And that's why I probably didn't hit my ear, because I say it similar to you.
Yeah.
It's like we drop that W and it's just awkward instead of awkward.
Yeah. To be fair, I think it might be more so one of those scenarios where it's a word that I never knew. I can't even blame my accent. I bet you it's a word I never knew how to pronounce correctly.
That could be.
I think that's the case. Now that we're talking about it, I think that's legitimately the case.
Because it's not like you didn't know how to spell it. You've just never really thought about how it's actually pronounced versus how you've said it forever.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of words like that for a lot of people, and I think that's one of them for me now that we've officially arrived at that. I had myself second guessing. I said the word often this weekend, and then I was like, is it often or often?
It's often.
And then I was like really stuck on that mentally for a moment. There's a lot of things, believe it or not, there's some things rattling around up here.
Think about the word February. There's an extra R in there we don't pronounce.
Oh, yeah.
Some people do, some people don't.
All right, I'm going to message a very patient Gannon Buhr.
Well, thank you, Gannon, for being patient.
Yeah.
While we wait for Gannon, which hopefully shouldn't be too long, let's go over. Oh, I got rid of the page. Look at me, how dumb I am.
You silly goose.
The top finishers of the. Do you have it up there, Terry?
I probably
for this weekend.
Yeah. I can get to that pretty darn quickly. So here we are for the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship, which to this day, there's still a conversation that can be had about. Is it the title? Is it is there anything that's crowned? You could be the tour points champion, but you're going to the championship to become a champion. Like, understandably, there could still be some confusion all around all of that. But for now, I'm going to read off our top couple of finishers, and then we're going to get right to Gannon. The other version of Gannon, that is. We've got Missy Gannon in first, as we said, 33 under, $35,000 paycheck. I think everyone knows that much. In that crazy Hole 18 event, at least, it turned out to be a tie between Kristen Tatar and Owen Scoggins. They finish at 31 under par, 2 behind Missy. They're taking home $16,000 apiece. Evelina Salonen in fourth, and Silva Saarinen finishes in fifth. She takes home $7,500 for her efforts. It's pretty cool to say that Silva specifically, fifth place, and that's the largest paycheck she's ever earned in disc golf, and it's for taking fifth. And that's after watching her put 5 wins together in a row. That just, I guess, emphasizes how much money is at this event, that you're taking fifth, and it's still the largest paycheck that you've earned, even after some other wins internationally. And I'm sick of talking about this winner, because we got to do it every single week. Oh, is it a 4-round event? Yeah, okay, well, bring in Gannon Buhr, because this guy's going to win or something. Hey, Gannon.
What's up? What's up?
Come on. Does winning get tired? Do you ever get sick of it?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
We had you in last week. We're bringing you in this week. I mean,
next week you're gonna be king of a C tier somewhere.
I'm playing a triples tournament with Joey Tamale and Eli Swanson.
You played that last year, right?
Yeah, we got the win, so we got to defend our title.
I mean, that's the hardest thing to do is defend
here's
the title.
an immediate tangent. We got to get into this triples tournament now. What's the how does that format play out? Is it an alternate? Is it a best? What's the plan?
Just typical best shot triples at Wildcat Bluff in Urbandale, Iowa, and I'm hyped. I did nice and laid back, so should be fun. How
much did you win by last year, and who were your partners?
Same people, me, Eli, and Joey have been doing it for a while now.
Okay.
We probably won by 2 or 3, but we've also lost that tournament before because it's probably the most competitive tournament in Iowa. Honestly, it's crazy how many people show up and competitive, and it's in the thick woods, so anybody can play good. But we got our first win last year. That was huge for us.
So just 2 rounds back to back, all in one day, 2 rounds C tier action.
Yep.
How many open teams are there?
I'd have to look. There's usually like around, I don't know, 7 to 9 usually.
Okay. I was gonna say that.
Are we making a trip there, Ter? We're gonna find a third and head down there.
No,
should.
I'm gonna be in another country at this time tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
All right. Well, let's continue this tangent. I did not do a deep dive, but I did see the headlines for some seemingly smack talk about other countries and events. What am I missing? Get me up to speed on this. You playing in some event, or Paul or something? What? Were these just headlines?
I have no idea what that's about. I think it's just some dumb. It was originally about Paul. I don't even know if it's real. Honestly, it could be. But someone said he's going to play a tournament in Africa, and they're like, "Oh, but Gannon just signed up too."
Okay.
All right.
So all of this is just some people being funny, and you really had no part, because I know you'll chime in.
Well, I said I'm confirmed I'm going as like a joke.
Okay.
So maybe people thought I was serious.
That's great.
Okay, I like it.
I like the trolling.
Well, finally, we'll say it. Congratulations. This weekend, absolutely insane.
Some of the best golf maybe I've seen in years on that second round, honestly. The way you and Ricky, did you feel like you guys were pushing each other? Is that how it felt on the course, or were you more focused on your game? Because shooting, what was it, a 13 and a 12 is ridiculous out there.
Yeah, it's definitely in the top 3 best rounds I've ever played, easily. And I've had a couple pretty hot rounds before. Mainly just because that course is so difficult, and one bad shot is a bogey, pretty much. I know for myself, I was hitting all my lines and I didn't have to make too many putts, and Ricky was making every putt. So, that was the best putting round I've ever seen from Ricky. If he was inside circle two, it was going in. So super crazy there. Um, I just felt amazing. I mean, almost every hole out there was a bonus birdie, and we were getting a bunch of birdies. It was pretty crazy. And I even missed a circle one putt. So I mean, it was wild. It was definitely like we were pushing each other. I wasn't too concerned because it was only round two. Obviously, I know there's some more rounds left in the event, but you obviously want to separate yourself from your competitors. And we did that pretty early on. So after round two, it was pretty much a two-horse race, it felt like.
Specifically thinking about that course, what would you say was, for you, what's the easiest birdie to get, and then what's the toughest birdie to get, whether you got it or not? What's the toughest birdie to get out there?
I don't know, it's weird because there were some like tough holes that I seemed to play really well, like hole 8 with the telephone pole.
Mm-hmm.
I went 3 under through 4 on that hole, and then the one run I didn't birdie, it was because I got. Oh wait, no, I think I got it every round. But whatever, my perfect shot hit the telephone pole and kicked back, and I made a 100-foot putt.
Mm-hmm.
So I played that one really well. I think a hole like that just fit my shot shape really nice. Gosh, I mean, that course is just filled with so many tough birdies. I think like hole 16 is a very, very difficult birdie. You have to hit the angle, the line. It can't move too much left to right while it's flying through the trees. And then you still have to throw it 400 plus uphill and get over a hill and then make your putt without fading too far left. So super difficult birdie there. I think I got it twice, which I'm extremely happy about. That's great for me. And then the easiest birdie on the course. I mean, to be completely honest, maybe the par five, the first par five. I think it's the only par five, but hole 5.
Hole 5.
Yeah, I played it terribly, but I think it's probably one of the easier birdies. I mean, in the final round, I just threw a decent tee shot, a stock hyzer, and then I had a putt for eagle. So I feel like I should have played that one better. But generally, most people were getting that one for birdie.
Yeah, and I'm surprised we didn't see more eagles throughout. And I know there's a lot of scattered trees you got to beat and everything else, but
I think that the angle, you can't really eagle it with the angle. That's the problem.
Okay.
You can only get to where I got, which was about, my second shot that final round was as aggressive as I could have got, and it wasn't an aggressive shot at all. So, I think I was probably 100 feet away maybe, and then you still have to weave a couple trees, but I know before it definitely was eagleable. They pushed it back probably 80 feet for 2023 and 2024. 2022, I know Alden got it pretty easily with 2 good driver shots. So, yeah, before the change, you could definitely get it. After the change, much harder.
What is, and I know this is probably going to be really tough, especially being the winner, but what's a shot or maybe even a sequence that really sticks out in your mind? And it doesn't even have to be from the last round, but what are what's one of the largest takeaways or memories that you have from this weekend of golf?
I mean, probably the controversial hole 9 of the final round when I got called for time and then banged a 45, 50-foot death putt to tie it up.
Okay. I think I think it's been said otherwise, or you've been either quoted or referenced that some of the time warnings and or violations or whatever have rattled you to some degree. I guess my question is that they rattle you, if it's true, they rattle you in the moment, or just generically they kind of weigh on you?
Do they still at this point?
For sure. It's more of like when it's not a problem on an open course. When you get into the woods like we are and you get into tricky spots, I've had times where I've been called for time and then I've walked up, grabbed any disc out of my bag and just thrown it immediately because I knew, I had no time to decide. So that's when it gets difficult, is when you get into another scramble position and then you have no time. That's when it gets stressful. Or the other time is like when it gets a little windy on a putt, but that doesn't happen too often where I'll wait a long time for a putt to die down. But that's the most stressful part. That's pretty much it. Nothing really else is too stressful about the situation.
What did you feel like when? Well, let's back up. Who officially made that call on 9? Because from a commentator perspective, I just heard Ricky say, "Yeah, man, you took like a minute," or whatever he said, but I didn't hear whatever was said before that. So who made that call? And then
Ricky was the first person to say something.
Okay.
And he said that, and I think that kind of acted as like calling the time officially, and then the marshal seconded it. That's my guess. I know a marshal can call time without a second, but to me that's how I kind of took it, as like Ricky made the call and the marshal just kind of seconded or made it official.
Okay. How did that strike you? Like, what was your immediate reaction when you heard that?
Yeah, I always get a little bit bummed out. That one actually surprised me a bit. I got called for time. I think, well, my caddy immediately said he's scared when he called that, and he said, "Take advantage of this. He's scared." And so I went up and made the putt. Because I've played so much with Ricky, and he hasn't made that call at all this season, and I've definitely taken a lot at some point in the season with him on the card. So, it's like, why would you not call it the whole year except for now? So that definitely stuck out to me, because I knew that I'm probably in a better headspace than he is. I feel like he's probably more worried about me than he is his actual game. So I kind of took that to my advantage and kept my momentum moving forward with that big putt. Yeah, I mean, it was a little annoying. I turned to my caddy immediately. I said, "I don't care. Like, it's not going to affect me. I don't mind." I think there's only one more shot that really got in my head. For me, it's more about like accidentally going over. I know for myself, on a normal shot, I don't even have to come close to worry about going over. I'm never going to go over on a tee pad or a putt. I'm not going to have to worry about that. It's a scramble. That's the problem. So as long as I wasn't in a scramble position, if I had somewhat fair footing, the trouble I had on that specific shot was about 3 things. It was a patent pending, which is about the worst shot in my game. I'm horrible at that shot. I had some thorns where my left foot was standing, and I also was trying to make sure that my stance was still legal, because I wanted to get as far away back from my disc as I could while still being in the throw. So I asked Ricky, "Am I good?" And he said, "Sure." And then I threw probably within 10, 15 seconds, and he called it. But the other main problem too, I was deciding which disc to throw, and once I decided that, kind of while I'm doing all that, I get really paranoid about hitting my hand on a tree. I don't want to hurt myself. And there was a tree right in front of me. And with my arms being so long, I'm not that strong. My momentum carries forward, and I can't stop my arm. So I'm trying not to like break my hand on the tree. So it was a whole mix of things that just made made it take longer. In my head, it didn't feel like it took that long. So it was kind of just overall a terrible situation for myself. Just, it was bound to happen at that point. I mean,
yeah.
I remember at USDGC, I got to a point where I was like, well, it's late in the round. I know I'm going to get called for time. I'll just take however much I feel comfortable with. And that's not what happened there, but that definitely comes up in my head sometimes.
So somebody had second guess, and I'm sure plenty of other fans then eventually did. Even us in the booth, we'll say offline, wondered, was that the moment? And was Rick was trying to call the violation per the time, but in hindsight, was that maybe the worst thing he could have done, because it sparked something else in you? And I wonder, in hindsight's 2020, but maybe you wouldn't have had a little extra motivation. You clearly had a lot of momentum anyway, but maybe that kind of got you going, even revved you up even more.
Maybe a little bit. And like I said before, he hadn't called it the whole season, and my caddy pointing it out, maybe he's scared. That kind of gave me a little bit of comfort in a way of like, oh, I definitely have the momentum. And when you're off, it's tough to get going at that course, especially. And not that it's a dirty call whatsoever.
Okay.
It just kind of maybe appears that way because he hadn't called it the whole season. He waited till now. But to be fair, you know, you can call it any time. And, you know, props to him for sticking up and actually calling it because no one else really does.
Sure.
You know, but the other thing that was a little interesting for me was, you know, he didn't call Ezra on hole 5 and he took just as long. So it's like, and he was, you know, it doesn't matter what the shot is, if it's a tricky position or what it is, it's like you have 30 seconds. So, you know, to kind of, I guess, maybe cherry pick who you're picking out for calling time, it's that maybe was a little interesting, but overall, I think it didn't have a huge effect on the way I was thinking about playing, but maybe gave me some more confidence.
So, talking about the dynamic between you and Rick a little bit, there was some talk earlier in the round about the celebrations off the tee, the claps, the fist pumps, whatever. And is that something you consciously did on the tee more this particular weekend? Because Ricky does it when he gets excited. He's done it for a decade. We've seen it. I don't believe he does it to intimidate anybody. I just think that's inside Rick. Did you take that on, or did you? Is that something that was coming naturally to you as well? Because I mean, you were playing well enough where I don't think it really mattered. Like it didn't seem out of the ordinary to me, but I know I saw words online that, like, you know, going back and forth and whatnot. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so I've been doing the clap for years as well.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back to when I won my first USDGC. I remember specifically hole 4, super tight gauntlet shot, and I lace it, and I just boom clapped.
Mm-hmm.
I was just excited. I've been doing that for as long as I've been playing disc golf. So it's not like it's something I stole from Ricky. I'd say there's definitely a little bit of, like, you kind of want to not intimidate, but let your competitor know that you're locked in.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like it's more of just like letting him know, or letting my competitors know that, like, I'm here to play. Like, nothing you're gonna do is gonna get under my skin. So it's kind of like one of those things, and maybe it might get under their skin. So it could be a little bit of like a intimidation thing. For me, it's like I'm just hyped to get through. But, like, especially like hole 17. I mean, it's so crazy watching that hole on camera, because on camera that gap looks like, oh, the pro should never miss that.
It looks huge.
That gap is tiny. That gap is so small. It's probably 120 feet off the tee, and it's probably, I don't know, 8 feet wide. I mean, it's a tiny gap, super tiny gap. I'm surprised I hit it every round, but there's definitely been times where I've missed that gap, and a lot of players have missed that gap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember throwing that tee shot, puring it out of my hand. And I got a nice big loud clap, and I was just hyped. I was like, felt so good, because in my opinion, that was about the last shot that was super scary to me. 18's tee shot is a bit scary, but that tee shot in specific, there's no room for error. You have to throw it down the middle. On 18, you can kind of throw it maybe a little bit left, a little bit right, short, and you can make it work on the second shot. If you miss that gap on 17, you're probably going to bogey. So that was huge for me. But the clap is definitely been something I've done my whole life. It's nothing new. I know some people are like, oh, you know, he's kind of trolling Ricky. No, I mean, if you go back, you can definitely see me. I've been doing it for a while now.
I feel like I would have noticed, because I watched a fair amount this weekend. It never looked awkward to me.
Precarious.
Or precarious. No, that's different. It never looked awkward, like it was unnatural, which is why I was thinking and talking, watching people comment on it. I'm like, no, this is just, nothing looks out of the ordinary for Gannon with the way he's playing. So I'm glad to know that is. So I would say right now we saw how Rick kind of ended the season. For the memorial, you've always stayed at Rick's place. Is that door still open? Is Rick gonna is maybe you're sleeping in the garage this year or next year if you go?
I'd still take that, man. A week in Arizona would be awesome. Ricky, if you're watching this, man, please, I'd love to come back. Yeah, it's funny. Fur and Ricky's caddy, I think my caddy was like, "We'll see you in Arizona," and then he's like, "Maybe, I don't know."
Now that's awkward.
Yeah.
We'll give it a couple weeks. Me and Rick are really good friends,
Yeah.
so I don't expect anything bad out of that. But I'm planning on playing the Memorial, so
Well, I've got more on that in a second. Now, if you start raptor legging, then we'll know there's official.
And there's a little bit of
then there's some trolling. But with that, and I hate that where I'm even digging into this silly negativity I see. But with that, there was some people challenging the idea of what Ricky said to close out, in terms of the speeches and everything else. Did anything there strike you? Some people were giving him a hard time as if he wasn't being a gracious enough, runner up. Did anything strike you?
no, he was fine. I mean, if you get asked, a minute after you lose, especially after having a big lead and having to be the last event of the season,
Yeah.
That was a heartbreaking loss for him. So I think what he said was fine. He congratulated me. He said I played well. I mean, that's all you need. You don't have to expect a huge long speech congratulating me or even thanking anybody there. It's like, obviously, like, you're still going through the motions. Your brain's not even working the same as if it would 2 hours from then. Your clarity is just not there. You're so focused on the game. So I was completely fine with it.
I of course, it's the internet, and everyone does have their own gauge and various levels of what they expect of others, and just the idea, like you said, of him finishing and the overall madness of the previous 4 hours that you two went through. I think it would have been. There's a lot of things he could have said that would have been absolutely the wrong thing to do, but I feel like what he did seems 100% in line with what still seems very fair and commendable. Well, I guess the Memorial conversation leads me into the next conversation, just all about off-season. You just mentioned, obviously, you're playing in this still relatively low-key, C-tier, triple C-tier next weekend. What else is part of the off season for you? How does that look this year?
I won league last night too.
Ah, okay. Well, I mean,
I'm sure the locals are happy to have you back.
Yeah, great. Gannon got her $28.
I love disc golf, so I am just as big as a fan as anybody, and I have fun playing. So I don't want to feel excluded from certain events.
That's true.
But my plan this off season, I did a really good job this year of eating healthier, exercising a bit more, stretching, warming up before my rounds, stuff like that, getting on a more consistent sleep schedule. And so I basically just want to one up that even more. I knew going into like this year, I wasn't going to just full jump into eating perfect, sleeping perfect, warming up insanely good, and cooling down after my rounds. But this year, I want to hit the gym early in the off season. That way, I have time. I think I started a little bit late. I relaxed a little bit too much. Obviously, I was dealing with contract stuff. That was obviously just a lot of work, and flying places, talking to some companies like that. That was taking up a lot of time, and not necessarily that was taking up too much time. It was more of a difficult to get into a rhythm type thing. So now that I'm going to be home for a couple months, it's going to be easy to get into a rhythm. I started just with a light workout last night, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that right after I get off this, and work my way up, and hopefully just be feeling really strong and flexible, and coming up for the next year. And I just want to take advantage of the off season and get started as soon as possible. And then I'm gonna try to go obviously play the Memorial early in the season, and probably going to spend about a couple weeks to a month in Florida before the season starts. My dad lives in Sarasota, so only about an hour and 30 minutes from chess.com or Florida Open. So I'll have time to go throw there. Obviously, it's too cold here in Iowa to go throw, and I'm looking forward to that.
Look out for the Sarasota local league.
Yes. Those Sky Pilots.
Watch out.
The Sky Pilots. That's
Sarasota
what they
Sky
are.
Pilots,
yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but I think it's imperative for our conversation so far. Did you hear that the Memorial has changed dates?
Yes.
Okay. I don't see you signed up.
Is it full?
No, But
Sign
I
up.
believe recently they had one of the waves in terms of how they're doing the waves of registrations. One of them, I believe, was for previous, divisional winners. Did open 4 days ago. Now they're on also on wave 1. Anyway, long story short, I would sign up ASAP just so you're not at any point on the outside looking in. But I wanted to tell you that, but also just remind the world, the Memorial is January 16th through the 19th, a full 6 weeks ahead of where it's been basically the last 30 years or 40 years. And I wanted you and the rest of the world. So that answers the question. You're going, well, presumably, will that be a whole crew? What will that look like this year with the big date change?
I don't think Alden or Isaac are gonna play. I haven't talked with like Silas or anyone like that.
Mhm.
Gavin might play, but it was definitely gonna be me and my caddy. He also won his AM 40 division last
Yep.
year, so he wants to kind of defend the title too. But it's I mean that the Memorial Week is always like one of my favorite weeks of the entire year. So if we could go back, I would love to do that. So. And it feels good to kind of get that competition. One more thing too, I'm chasing the highest rated of all time, so I know the ratings out there are friendly as well. So a lot of pros. The payout's always amazing. The trophy's cool. So I just love being over there. It's such a fun event. So
Okay.
the date change was a little bit annoying, but I still want to make it work. I'm excited.
All right,
and they're
so
they're changing the date because of the park reconstruction that's going to be happening later, like a month later. Basically.
Yeah, so
that's
they're
why
completely
they had to move it
ripping up all of the Vista, that entire section. I believe from one road all the way down to 2 roads down and everything between. That park, my understanding is it's going to get a complete overhaul. And it'll probably look almost unrecognizable compared to what it is right now. And that's, that construction is starting. So that's why they're moving the Memorial into, and that there's going to be a little less daylight. So they'll have a few less, available spots in the tournament, all that stuff. So my point is you and Schlebach need to go get registered ASAP. That'll be my PSA my friend.
I actually tried finding it yesterday, but I couldn't find the registration. So
all right, I'll send you the link. I have it in front of me. So I'll send you that link and then
that'd be huge.
At least I'm not signing up KJ Nybo like I did 10 years ago when something was wrong with his PayPal or something and he wanted to get in because he comes over every year and normally he has it under control, but I signed him up. Anyway, so good. It's been really cool having you out there. That event has obviously gone back and forth in terms of the star power that's been arriving these last couple of years with it not starting the pro tour, but it'll be awesome to see you and some others still coming out next year. Is there anything, and I don't mean to sound, flippant about this, but is there anything that hasn't been talked to death that you have to share with everyone? I mean, you get interviewed every weekend. You're winning, almost every single event. You've broken all these records. You've been an open book about everything. What's left for you?
Yeah, I think the one thing that gets under my skin a little bit is people talking about stuff that's like maybe not true.
Okay.
I don't mind hate from people as long as they don't use stuff that isn't true. I've seen a lot of people like hating on me with facts that aren't even like, it's not legit,
They're not facts, yeah. So like anything in particular?
I don't know. I feel like people like call me super lucky all the time, and I'm like, well, how can you get lucky that many times?
Yeah.
And then
you're not Isaac.
It's only me getting lucky. Yeah, exactly. But it's only me getting lucky and no one else getting lucky.
Yeah,
that's not possible. It can't happen. The other thing is like, oh, Gannon like just always takes forever. Obviously, I know I'm going to break the time limit sometimes, especially if I get in the rough. That's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year, from on the tee to putting, I really didn't come that close to breaking the time limit. I don't think it's excessive at all either. And it's not like I'm taking 30 seconds every single throw. It's like, I only take 4 seconds on a 20-foot tap in. So, and I also, I remember hole 4, the final round, I'm in a rhythm. I'm getting in a rhythm. So I walk to the next tee and I almost immediately throw, and there's 40 people in the crowd just walking, trying to get as close to the spectator line as possible, and I just don't even care. But my pace of play is fast, but I'm still going to get crap for maybe slow play on one or two difficult outshots. So that's something I feel like if you're really going to talk about my time being super slow, like I know I get warnings, every other event maybe or every third event, but like if you really watch me play, I don't think I'm that much slower than the next person, and so I would like to put that out there. Like I said, I acknowledge I break it sometimes, but so definitely that sucks too, because when I get put on the spot for these questions, I forget like what I hate that people say. So, oh gosh,
well,
I can't think of any more.
Well, you keep thinking, and well, I'll say to that
Mark,
is,
you have any?
No, what I'll say to that is, I just feel like obviously that was a valid criticism or concern of you more so years ago, and there is still some of that stereotype reputation that is continues to linger with you a little bit. But I completely agree with you in the sense that it doesn't feel
as warranted.
I was gonna say habitual. Like I feel like there were a lot of times you were often very slow and or maybe exceeding it, but those instances are so much more rare and almost non-existent now. And I completely agree. And it's just a matter of us getting everybody, not me, but everybody getting up to speed with the idea of like, yeah, that was a problem and it seems to be largely, if not completely, mitigated. So I can understand that frustration from you saying, hey, that's not me anymore. It was more so in the past, but it's not really me right now. So I can understand that.
Yeah.
But getting lucky, I don't know who's like, that's just stupid. Like the idea of like you getting more lucky than the next. No
one actually is luckier than another person.
No, it's how you perceive it. It's how you put it out there, and then maybe begging or complaining, to try and seek favor in some capacity is what people are doing. But you're exactly right.
It just like depends when it happens, because like I remember in round 3, I think it was when I was really falling back at Rick. He shanked a couple shots and would just get through everything, and then I'd throw a better shot, and then I would be left with like maybe not as good as an approach. I'd get a par, he'd get a birdie. I'm like, how did I lose a stroke? I should have got to, but I think it just depends like what time of the tournament it happens. So like if you get final round luck, people are definitely going to look at that a little bit more, I feel like.
Yeah, we had the same conversation with Missy. She did the same thing where it's like you still. She had a few good kicks that kicked her towards the basket, but again, at a course like Nevin, you have to have a good throw to get up near the basket to get that luck. Like
you're not hitting first available and kicking the perp. Like it's never happening like that. You might squeak through some trees, but that's just woods golf. That's something you have to accept. It's going to happen for everybody. I did have one question to Terry about the time call in round 2 or round 3 or whatever it was.
Okay.
When do you know what they told you?
I think it was hole 7, right? You were down into the right on the par 5. Am I thinking of the right hole, or am I thinking of 5? Sorry, 5.
Hole 5.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm thinking 7, but anyways, it was hole 5, and in my ear, we have. Obviously, we hear a little bit of what's going on the course, and it's not always crystal clear, but we hear a little bit of that, and then we also have a producer and or some other people, and I have Brian Earhart and or Nate Perkins can sometimes, if they unmute themselves, we can hear them from on the ground, which the rest of the world can't hear in that case through a Google Meet call. Anyway, if I recall, it was just sometime shortly after your second shot on that hole, someone, I believe my producer maybe, came on in my ear and said, "We're getting word of Gannon being called for a time violation, or getting a warning for time," something to that degree. I was like, And then of course we have to think about the right time to say that. If we're currently showing Kyle Klein throwing a shot, I'm not about to spit it out at that moment. So we shortly after, when we were either back to the play or whatever. I think I almost immediately threw it out to Brian, if I recall. Now I'm getting myself confused. I think I threw it out to Brian and asked about it. Now you're making me second guess, but I thought I threw it out to Brian, and Brian confirmed and said he's been given a warning. Is that what happened? Did you watch it? Now I'm second guessing it. Something like that. Either way, that's all I knew.
Yeah, I'd have to probably go back and look at it, but.
Whether it was Brian that confirmed or it was just the control room that told me, and then I relayed it. There's always a fine line. Sometimes control room will tell us stuff that is like for us just to kind of know, or for us to immediately repeat, or for us to know but regurgitate and spit it out later. We're on a spectrum, right, of all those things as to what was being said. But it was being told as if this is information for the world to know. And at whatever appropriate time it was, that's when it all came to light. So, do you feel like it happened differently, or was there some confusion on your end?
Yeah, I'll say my story. I know what you're talking about too, because like I've been in some interviews when you can hear the producers in your ear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't know how you guys do that. That's crazy to not.
Well, some days you screw up. Some days it's easy to screw up when somebody's telling you, "Hey, shut up after this sentence. Shut up after this sentence," or ask them about such and such. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
I would do so bad. That would mess with me. I think it has a couple times in interviews or something. Yeah. But whatever. So it was a DGPT official. I don't know. That's I think what they call them. They're not called PDGA marshals. They're called like DGPT officials.
Okay. So who are probably PDGA? Who are probably they likely then are PDGA certified, rule certified. That sense. Okay, but go on. Yep.
Yeah. So the guy who was on our card comes up to me and shows me his phone that said like 45 seconds on it or something like that, and he said, "I'm sorry," and that's pretty much all he said. And then I asked like, well, when does my time start? Like blah, blah, blah. He kind of gave a variety of answers like, oh, once you reach inside circle 1 of your disc, then your time starts. So, that's kind of, in my opinion, dumb that there's not still a certified time when the time starts. I've heard it many different ways for different marshals, but the reason I guess I could have gotten confused as long as with my card, because I know like I'll use like Rebecca Duffy as an example. Many times she has kind of come up to me like, hey, that shot was a little bit longer, just speed it up. This is not a warning, but just letting you know. So when he said, I'm sorry, I kind of thought that's what he was trying to say, was like, hey, like, this is just like a little reminder, play a little quicker. I don't want you to get a warning. And then what especially made me believe that is every time you get called for a time violation, on the next T-pad, the marshal needs to state to the group what happened, and that didn't happen. No one knew. No one, usually the play is stopped, and then he says, hey, we'll just let everyone know I gave Gannon an official time warning. That always happens, and that didn't happen there on the next T-pad. So that's why I was like, oh, yeah. He was just being nice and reminding me. Okay. And then we get to hole 16, and my caddy's just scrolling on his phone, and Isaac's kind of looking over his shoulder, and he's like, did Gannon really get a time warning? I'm like, no, like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. What are you talking about? Like, when did that happen? And I was like, were you guys told I got a time warning? They're like, no, we have no idea. Ricky didn't know. No one knew. So I'm pretty sure that's part of the rule, is it has to be addressed to the group that a player has been giving a warning. So we had no idea. I'm glad nothing else happened about me like getting stroked somehow. I don't know. I personally don't think that would have went through, because if I don't know that I'm on the clock, how can that be like,
sure,
in the final round, I played faster on, I threw a scramble forehand shot on 13 that final round with my like roller disc on a forehand line.
Yeah, I remember it.
And threw it pretty quick. I went up there and threw it pretty quick because I didn't have that much time to, I told my caddy after I got my warning, I was like, hey, stay tight to me because we don't have much time. Like 30 seconds is nothing when you're in the woods trying to find your line, find your stance, then find the disc to throw, and then do a couple reps to feel comfortable. So I was like, you got to stay tight to me. But, I'm glad, nothing like that came up. So, I don't even know how that would have been handled, getting a stroke for not even knowing I was on the clock. So who knows? But I was just curious what your side of it was, because all I really knew is what I heard.
Yeah, I think it's a valid question, especially if you didn't know or realize it. And I think that just goes to just generically saying the application or the giving of the warning or rule or whatever, should all fit within a standard protocol. Because like you said, you're used to then getting onto the next hole, and then somebody, if that's the case, then somebody would make an announcement at the next hole. Back in my day, if somebody was issued either a warning or a stroke, you got to the next hole, and then you would literally write it down on the scorecard. You'd like circle like, oh, hole 7, warning or whatever.
Yeah,
just
Rebecca
so it's always
Duffy,
there.
Do that, yeah. Rebecca Duffy says like, hey, like mark it down on your phone or on a scorecard just to make sure we have it.
Exactly, yeah.
But,
and
so
it's just funny because we're doing it all digital now.
Yeah.
Like I said, we used to literally write it down. Yeah, you're like, I don't have my iPad along. I'm gonna sketch this out. It sounds like, without dismissing any of it, because it sounds kind of confusing all across the board, it is clearly a moment and an example that I believe everybody can learn from. And thankfully, like you said, it didn't ultimately cost you a stroke, but there definitely was a little bit of confusion, and whether that's the marshal component or relaying it to you or the entire group, or even if it was for sure a full warning or not, it sounds like there was just even a clarity issue on, for you, which, to be fair, it should be cut and dry. This is an official warning or this isn't. So fair enough.
And I'm not sure if it was his first time doing it, because I won't lie. I'm 90% sure he's a cameraman sometimes.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure I think he's a big fan of me as well. So that's kind of cool. But
so it's got to be really awkward, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's well. And so apparently, my caddy was going to the bathroom, and as he was going to the bathroom, he passed by him and he said, he's like, I still love Gannon, So like, I just don't think stuff was communicated properly. Maybe,
okay.
If it was his first time doing it, maybe he just had a brain fart and didn't know what to say or something like that. So
yeah,
I have no hate, no hard feelings against him at all. So
yeah,
he was doing his job. I appreciate it. So, I'm just glad, nothing came out of it.
Yeah, and I guess, again, big picture, because we always talk about, well, there should be an official on every single card. Fair, right, wrong, or we'll get there or not, that's fine. It's going to continue to be tougher as you guys are playing for more money, as you may or may not know some of these people, because, are we going to ship around 27 officials, just fly them all around the country, because then they're not going to be a fan favorite of somebody or be a local from a course, or are we going to have that many DGPT employees or PDGA? Like, all of those questions are impossible. So it's funny because we are at the same time such a tight-knit sport. So I'm sure nobody wants to call anybody on a violation, right?
Yeah.
So okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, people would, like, I was talking like, well, what if I just watched Ricky's feet like a hawk that flying around? I guarantee you I could have found a footfall somewhere. It's like, players don't want to have to get that kind of villain attitude, or, like, it feels more like heartfelt. It feels more like you're actually getting mad at somebody than it is just playing the rules of the game. So, I hope next year the PDJ can make the the rule of you're not allowed to use video evidence. I hope they can fix that to where we can for like OB calls and stuff, because if there's not a marshal in every card, then why can't you use video evidence for shots if there's not a camera on every card? So in my mind, it's like the same thing. We might as well make the correct call if we have the evidence for it. Might as well. It's not that big of a deal if someone in 45th place maybe makes an incorrect call. No one, if we're looking at sports, like, no one really cares too much about who's down there. We care about, who's winning. We don't want anything like that to affect the championship or something like that if we have the ability to use the evidence. Also, by the way, my phone's at 2%. I probably have about 4 minutes.
Okay.
All right, so here, then we'll wrap this up here pretty quick. $200,000 this year. Okay. You won 9-10 different events. Can you top that next year? You think you will top that next year?
It's possible. I think I have more confidence. I think I know that I can win any event I go to. I've proven it. I can win at any course. I won in the thick woods at Nevin. And I won the European Open with the Woods, the Open Mix. I've won a lot of open course tournaments, so I can play well at every tournament. It just comes down if my game's feeling good that week or how my mental game is. Which after Worlds, I got a kind of a reality check of making sure my mental game was in check, and I only lost one tournament after Worlds. So, you know, it was kind of good for me to. Obviously, it sucked to lose Worlds, but it made me realize I got to keep my head on, head on tight. So, and that helped me in the long run. I think it'll help me for next year as well. I wouldn't let stuff get to me. So I think it's definitely possible to beat it. Now, I don't know. The earnings record is going to be tough to beat just because you have to win to beat that record.
You have to win the biggest
with,
events.
You have to win the biggest events, and you have to win a lot. So that's like, it's so hard to beat. Ricky did, I think, 120,000 with only 3 wins. So that's incredible. He could even get to that much. But look at this. The mother just delivered me a phone charger.
Mom.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
So
here we go. We get this. We have more time.
All right.
Awesome. Is there a win that you particularly want then next year because it slipped through your hands this year?
0 time?
The Worlds is obvious. The Worlds. I guess I think of all the other events, but is there a win outside of the Worlds that you're like, man, how did that one get past me? Or I need this one.
I don't even know if it was a win, but this year OTB, I was in the lead after 1 round and 1 hole, and it was my worst finish of the year at 13th. I don't even know how it's possible for me to play bad at that course with how it sets up.
Mm-hmm.
I got second the year before, but to be fair, my game was so bad this year. My forehand was only going like 350 feet. Usually I can stretch it to about 450 if I need it. And I don't even know what it was. My timing was horrible. I was throwing them in the ground, too high, too turned over, too much hyzer. It was everywhere. And my backhand was terrible. So it was like just a mix of everything that was bad. The only thing I did good that weekend was putt. I would like to clean up my play there. I'd like to win the Preserve. Once again, pretty open course. It's easy to get on a heater, which I feel like I play my best disc golf when I'm just stringing together birdies. I do that pretty well sometimes. I think I saw a stat this year of, who had the most 1075 plus rated rounds, and I think I had, I definitely had more than double the next person. So yeah. I'm able to get those rounds going hot and keeping them stay hot. So I'd like to win that one for sure. Another one, obviously Worlds, like you said, didn't slip through my fingers this year, but is definitely one I want to win, especially with it being at the European Open courses. My first time over there, I played really well. They suit my game amazing, so I'm excited to get back there. I don't know. I'd have to think. I've won a lot of the events so far. There's probably
triples event
5 to 8 events I haven't won. So any of those, but in general, probably some more open events that I feel like I should have won maybe.
Well, and that's maybe my more specific question was, is there an event that has eluded you where you feel like, and maybe you just kind of said that about like the Preserve, that how have I not won this one yet? I've had 3 or 4 chances at it or whatever. If there's one that you feel like, this one should be on my mantle by now. Yeah. And
it was D-Glow because I'd always played terrible at D-Glow.
Sure.
But then I won it this year. I'm gonna say MVP because the first year I played, 2022, I got very close to winning, kind of choked away a win in a way. It wasn't a super choke, but I was up 1 with like 9 holes to play. So obviously, and I hadn't won any tournaments. In 2022, my first win was USDGC, which was after MVP. So I hadn't even experienced winning. I won a Silver Series, but that wasn't quite the same. So I think MVP would be nice. And then this year as well, I was about a combined 2 feet off of winning that tournament, and it just took me out of the running pretty early on in that event. I didn't even play that good the final round. I missed a lot of putts. I probably should have missed a couple easy up shots. My game just wasn't feeling right, and I only lost by 2 strokes. and Proctor made that putt. So if he missed that putt, I only lose by 1 stroke.
Mm-hmm.
I remember vividly on hole 6, very tough birdie. I had a birdie putt from an awkward lie. My hand was cold, just not my favorite conditions to play in. Hit the right side of the cage, OB over the wall. So when I thought I was getting 2 strokes, I lost 2 strokes. And then hole 8, the island hole, every time my card 2s it, and my drive's looking perfect coming in and squares up the tree that's only about that wide, drops me in the water. I airball the drops on putt, and it's a 5. I lose 3 strokes just like that on that hole to the whole card. And the fact that I even had a chance to win that event was crazy. So with everything that went wrong that quickly in that final round, but I'd like to get that one back. I mean, honestly, other than those that 3-hole stretch, 6, 7, 8 at MVP that final round, I pretty much played the rest of my season after Worlds perfect. I only lost MVP was my only lost tournament. I won 2 Elite Series, the Tour Championship, a major, and I had a 1086 average in Canada. So, and all of that happened when I switched putters. So that's pretty cool.
Here comes the putter plug.
Maybe you
finally
need to have them make you some drivers.
Come on.
All right, give everyone the breakdown. I feel like I'm completely behind in all frisbees, all manufacturers. So this is nothing personal. I have no idea where frisbees are coming and going these days. Although I am talking to Discmania, they want to maybe sponsor the cold turkey event I run next month. Maybe some Gannon's putt. Okay, so give me what do, because I'm sure the rest of the world knows this. So I'll admit I'm behind. Give me the lowdown on this putter.
Okay, so previously I was putting with the link from Discmania.
Okay.
And I was promised that I was gonna get a putter made for me. Not only promised, it's in my contract. So
okay.
I was extremely excited for that to happen. I knew that was gonna be. Discmania didn't really offer a putter that was similar to the one I was using the year before.
Oh, there you're back.
Okay. Yeah, we gotcha.
You're good.
I'm gonna turn on Do Not Disturb.
Oh, that's what that was. I thought still the battery maybe had gone, even if it was plugged in.
I got a phone call. So I was playing with the Discmania link. It's the feel of it was generally about what I wanted. The depth was good. It had a bead on it. I putt with a beaded putter. I have my whole life. Maybe I didn't putt for like the first year. I putted beadless. I bought like a McPro Aviar because I saw Paul making all these putts. I was like, well, if I buy it, maybe I'll putt good.
Yep, makes sense.
I didn't even end up liking that putter. So I just stuck with beaded for my whole life. I obviously played with the PA3 for I think 7 years, so that was kind of ingrained in my brain quite a bit. And it was a much more overstable putter than the link. And so at the beginning of the season, I was having some real commitment issues putting with the link. But as the season went on, I actually grew to like it a lot because I didn't have to putt as hard, and I was able to kind of glide them in there a little bit more. But I still missed a little bit of more stability that my old putters had, and so I wanted to make a putter that had less glide than the link and more overstability than the link. Not too much as a throwing putter, but as a putting putter. So at low speeds, the P2X, which is my brand new disc that I helped design, we went through 3 different variations. I got one back in I think March or April. Liked it, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. The second variation was actually terrible. I don't know what went wrong on that one. And we actually kind of just like tossed that whole idea aside, made a completely new mold, and got that one pretty much exactly how I want it. It's got a nice flat top. It doesn't have that frisbee shape like a P2 does or like an AVR. So I kind of always enjoyed the more flat top putters. It's got a just pretty neutral depth, not too deep, not too shallow. It curves around, and as it gets to the bead, there's a flat spot that's completely flat that I lay my finger kind of on, and then it has a bead on the bottom, which I just put right in the crease of my finger to give myself a consistent putt every time. So once we got that dialed down, the plastic isn't quite dialed down yet, but we're working on it. So that should be out soon. But I know the putter got finally released this last week for my USDGC win. So those are still available, so check them out if you want one. But yeah, ever since I switched when I got them, I played D-Glow with the links, and then I switched to the P2X, my new putter, at Canada, and then played with those the rest of the year and played really well. My C1 putting was amazing. I only missed one C1 putt last weekend, and it was a 30-footer on hole 6's basket, which is a bit controversial. I don't think they put that basket together proper. I think they switched the poles around by accident. So it was actually like a shorter basket,
Mm.
which is a
Really?
little bit weird. And the cage was also leaning. So not to make excuses, but it definitely got in my head a little bit. But that was only my circle one. I putted really well. I made 10 of my 20 circle twos, and it just is nice to have that late fade again. So, I have, as my career with Discmania has been going on, I've been filling slots that they haven't even had in their lineup, and it's going to fill my game. I'm working on a few other discs with them right now, and those are going to come out soon too. But yeah, I mean, my bag already felt great, and now that I feel confident with my putting putters again, it just feels so good.
Okay. I mean, that's all sounds great. I feel like we could hand you any putter and you're going to be successful.
You should buy some, Terry.
That's absolutely, like I said, I want to be on the cutting edge of what's going to be available for the tournament that I'm doing next month. So if every single player, like 150 players, are all getting some Gannon Buhr putters, I'm just saying, let's we can maybe make that happen. So along the lines of putting, it was announced, and it started happening to some degree already, the basket testing in terms of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. There's, I think, a few videos out there and conversations. We talked about it here on the show last week as well. Knowing how hard you putt and ultimately how good of a putter you are overall, have you had any input? Did you go through, the lineup of baskets? Like, get us up to speed with what you know.
Yeah, I think the end goal is to have a standard basket, but that's not the goal for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Goal is to eliminate the bad baskets. So that's partially what that was. I tested some new baskets I hadn't putted on before, and then I also knew about baskets that I did like. So I putted on, obviously, some companies didn't submit their baskets, either because they knew their product wasn't very good, or maybe because they forgot or something like that.
Sure.
Discraft did not submit their Chainstar Pro, and it's one of my top two favorite baskets. I think it's the most fair. I think if you spit off the pole in that basket, it's either super unlucky or you putted it too hard, or at a bad nose angle, and it catches right and left very fairly and evenly. So I love that basket. The Mach X is another one of my favorite baskets. It's just does a really good job about catching hard putts. You can putt. Honestly, the biggest thing for me is when I'm 20 feet away, I can putt confidently and know it's going to stick. That's nice to have. There's a lot of baskets where you have to take off your pace, and if it gets windy, it is a struggle to make putts and confidently. So I think, as much as, I think pace is slightly important for putting, not putting too hard. I think the amount of times that even a slow putt like Isaac spits off the pole, we saw a bunch at USDGC for Isaac, like that just cannot happen. We can't have that happen. I'm okay with cutting through the left side or the right side or whatever. If it hits the middle of the pole, it needs to stay in. Now, and for like sometimes when putts are, just below the band, they're called too high. I agree if it never reaches the pole. So if you putt underneath the band's here, and your putter, hits the top links of the chains and then kind of just gets stuffed and then falls out, then yeah, it was probably too high. But a lot of the high putts even will be just below the band. They'll go all the way, hit the pole, and then pop out. And so once again, if you have heavy chains around the pole, that's just not going to happen. And so I think you should be rewarded for that. So the gateway baskets that we put it on actually had, I think, 3 to 4 different weights of chains and thicknesses and sizes. So the outside chains are more similar to what you see on a normal disc golf basket. In the middle section of chains got a little bit bigger and also heavier. So the middle chains were like just thick chains. I mean, they're pretty big, and they're extremely heavy, probably 3-4 times the weight of the outside chains. And so instead of the disc getting to the pole, it just kills the speed, because the weight of the chain is the proper weight to where it's not too heavy, but it's also heavy enough to where when your disc hits it, it just dies and it just falls to the ground basically. So that was nice to putt on. I didn't see any dead center spit outs on that. And the RPM Helix is also a great basket. I don't love the way it looks, but I think that's pretty easy to fix. I think the overall chain assembly is pretty solid. So,
which is funny.
I'd be
I'll
happy
interrupt
with
real quick. A lot of people think the Helix is arguably the most beautiful basket in the world, and just by looking at it, regardless, although it catches great too, a lot of people look at that Helix basket and just think it's absolutely gorgeous.
And to be fair, it kind of looks like what, like an upside down Hershey's Kiss on the bottom, right? It tails down. Yeah.
So anyway, that's funny that the most notable thing of that basket arguably is the thing that you happen to dislike the most.
Yeah. So part of that kind of Hershey's Kiss design, I believe, is so you can't make the putt like low left or low right corner pocket, have it hit the bottom of the cage and then jump out.
Sure.
We've seen that on some of the disc golf park baskets in Europe. It's definitely happened before. So when the cage is curved like that, it can't come out. The angle isn't correct. It just shoots it back toward the middle. So maybe that's how that is. I don't love the way it looks. I think it looks kind of small. I was not a fan of the way, it looks like nature. I know a lot of people think it's pretty, but to me, if we want to push our sport forward, we don't want to think about that. We want to think of looking professional, and having a basket that's not symmetrical and looks like a flower, in my opinion, isn't that professional. So, they did have a version that had a slightly different cage and top, which looked a lot better in my opinion. It actually had a band, and the cage wasn't that kind of flower shape. It was still that Hershey's Kiss shape, but it definitely didn't have the weird spiral. But yeah, I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I would love to see if we could get a standard basket. The three things that I want to see in disc golf to make our sport a lot better would be a standard basket, flags on top of the baskets, and a standard at least size of tee pad. It doesn't need to be a certain material, but the size or shape of a tee pad. So I think those are three really easy fixes, especially for the Pro Tour, considering they can take all that stuff with them in a trailer or something like that. So, that's just my advice. I think we'll be able to reach that in a couple of years. But every step closer to that would be amazing.
I want to see the Pro Tour trailer have these huge trapezoidal concrete slabs and just
bringing concrete with them.
Well, I just get some good turf. There's good enough turf out there,
I do love the idea, because I know last week I kind of poo-pooed the idea of the basket testing. I like the idea of similar baskets with different weighted chains, and then asking players' opinions on how different players putt on different weighted chains. If all the other variables are the same, I think that is a good experiment to be throwing out there, because or different chain contraptions and things like that, and then hopefully taking more or less the players' opinions is what I said last week, which is what I want. I want them to ask the players. I don't think just putting at baskets necessarily is a good measurement of the quality of a basket. I think talking to the players is a much better version.
Someone on the board brings up something that I don't know how often people think about, but it said the idea of, what about having dense absorbent foam around the inside of the pole to stop bounce back? I should say, just take out the word foam, and I'll say, should we be considering any other materials other than chains, or maybe in addition to chains? Is that something that just hasn't been explored that much that I know of within basket design? Should we be thinking about other stuff in there?
Yeah, the problem with like the foam or whatever, even if it's any other material, just the durability part of it.
Exactly.
It's not going to last as long. The head, like what I saw with the Gateway basket is what I think we should see every weekend. Even if the Pro Tour carried around 6 heavyweight chains per basket that they could install themselves, if they had carabiners that they would just attach on to the circle clip at the bottom, and then obviously the clip at the top. If they could install their own just heavy chains in the middle, something like that, just to make sure the dead center spit out doesn't happen, I would love to see that. Like I said, who knows? Maybe it's not, but to me it seems like a pretty simple fix if you're looking to do something like that.
Sure. Yeah, or putt softer. That's a simple
or putt softer. But then you have people like Isaac and Evan Smith I've seen just dead center pull straight back out. It's like,
it can happen to anybody.
Never happen.
I mean,
it's like,
Yeah, if we're
Yeah.
being fair, and this, without beating it to death, everyone's putt plays better on a particular basket, right? So it's just maybe, some putts play great on a certain basket, some, where that putt is terrible on a different basket, and then so on and so forth. So that's why I think this has partly been so tough, because everybody has such a different style, the pace, the angle, everything else, that it's like many things in life. We're not going to ever please everybody. It's just, there's too many styles to please everybody, but we should work towards what seemingly works for the most. That much I agree with, for sure.
And I think we're already on a good trajectory of getting rid of the bad baskets. I think everyone on tour, we all know, we don't have to say them. We know what baskets probably shouldn't be there. And I think we're making that change, which I like to see.
Okay. Yeah, I said them last week. I don't need to say them this week. All right. So as I was saying a little bit, $211,000, $432. $211 and $432. A lot of money. You are notorious for being a Lego fan. Is there a set that you've got your eye on? A big set? Is there anything that you're out there, you're like, this is a good off-season project. It's a 32,000 Lego set piece or something? What's going on?
I don't know. I think I have a lot of the biggest sets ever made already. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think it's more about just collecting more of the big sets. I would like the Colosseum, the Roman Colosseum. I think it's pretty cool. Right now, I'm currently working on the Harry Potter Hogwarts Castle. It's like 6,000 pieces. I have the 2,000 piece version of it, so I'm gonna have its big brother basically.
Okay.
I don't know if I have any specific. If you have recommendations, send me a DM on Instagram.
Have you ever looked into? And my son was and still is a little bit heavily into Legos. Have you ever looked into some of those online sites that will you can DIY them? Basically, they're different sets you can
mocks I'm seeing
mock sets.
My own creations.
Oh, my own creations. Yeah, they will send you the part list, then you can order them from Lego, and then they have I think instructions that you can build your own. And I don't even know
disc golf course.
I was just gonna say, how have you not done this?
Yeah.
I definitely don't like to just build random Legos. If you just gave me a pile of Legos, terrible at that. I like to follow the instructions and get how it's supposed to be done. I don't actually enjoy. Honestly, sometimes I don't even enjoy building the Legos. It's more about the accomplishment and how it looks.
Sure. Hey, do you have? I thought I saw or heard something. A Lego trophy or a copy of one of your trophies built in Legos? Is that right or no?
It's not, unfortunately.
Okay, no. Well,
I want Lego to sponsor a pro tour, and then the trophy's like a 10,000 piece trophy you build yourself.
Oh my god, I can't imagine how much you'd crush the field by just because you wanted it so badly. Well, I mean that
Simon
could be
guitars.
Yeah, it's Simon with the guitars.
Manifesting it.
I think that could be a fun project, and it's not a paint by number like a lot of the other Legos are. I keep saying Legos. It's Lego.
Yeah,
get
it right.
I know. I'm sorry, everybody. Is to recreate one of your favorite trophies in Lego.
I could do that.
Yeah, pick one of your trophies, and then all right, this is what I'm going to make. I make a cool version of that in Lego. I think when you run out, and granted, there's a billion sets. When you do finally run out of the ones that you want.
So I opened this show, or I talked about it during the broadcast this weekend at one point, and then it just led me simply to the Googling it. What do you call yourself as a Lego enthusiast? Like, how do you refer to yourself? When someone says, oh, Gannon's a big Lego blank, what word do you use there?
Guy.
Just Lego guy. Okay.
Not like a brickhead, not a...
Yeah, because when I Google Lego enthusiast,
Lego guy.
There's a Affle, adult fan of Lego, which I guess technically you would have just became a few years ago. And then there's kid fan of Lego, a teen fan, but Affle, AFOL, adult fan of Lego, seems to be the number one response that comes back. And I just didn't know if there's what's the Lego jargon in terms of hardcore Lego enthusiasts like yourself. You don't have a name for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going with whatever.
Huh. Okay. Fair enough. I Googled it. I was like, I don't know what to call them. So
yeah, that's cool.
Well, we got to call you Champ. That's what we do. All right. Is Is there any, that's Lego specific, but is there any other splurge or, thing you've had your eye on? Somebody said, well, maybe you'll go out and get your license in this off season. But how about spending wise? Is there anything else that, I know you're really responsible, but is there anything else you're looking to pick up or splurge or buy your mom a McLaren? I don't know. What's the plan?
Well, the goal is to get my license very soon, hopefully in the next couple weeks.
Really?
And then I need to get a car for tour. That'd be huge. I'm not sure what to get. It needs to be a certain weight so I can ride it off, stuff like that.
Yeah, over like 6,000
crap
pounds
like that.
allegedly.
Yeah, 6,000 pounds. So I need to figure out what car I need. I don't want anything too fancy. Just something that's gonna hold a decent amount of storage. I'll get the job done. So
and be alone. Will you plan to? Are you going to return the favor and start actually hauling Alden around, or like what's the plan there?
I don't know. I think I definitely wouldn't haul Alden around. It might be Silas if he decides to tour with us.
Okay.
Alden does his own thing most of the time. So, yeah, we'll see that. So that was actually the original plan. Was I was going to buy a car. I was going to get my license. And then Silas and I were going to tour together. And then he had some plans kind of switch up, and we weren't able to do that. So riding with Alden was actually a last minute type of thing this year. So,
Okay.
I think I'm going to fly to all the West Coast and East Coast events, and obviously Europe. I'm not going to drive to Europe.
No. Okay.
But,
I don't know. You might get a new license we don't know about to do that.
And yeah, the air, water, road license.
Just build a Lego raft. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But so I'm still going to fly to the tournaments that are a ways away. But in general, I should have a car for most of the Midwest tournaments or just anything in the general, not too super far away.
I mean, nothing for nothing. This is major. Like this, from what your plan has been and what you've been touring and your lifestyle and your friends and the travels, what you're telling me right now is a very significant change. What led you to this? It was just inevitable?
Yeah, I mean, it's about time, I guess. It's, there's been a couple times where, I want to go maybe practice, and it's like later, and it's like getting late at night, and, no one else really wants to. And so, I just won't get a ride. Basically, I have to just accept that I can't practice or something like that.
Sure.
I wouldn't even call it practice. I'll just call it like I'm bored and I want to go throw some frisbees.
Mm-hmm.
So just stuff like that, or if I want to get food, just go get practice rounds on my own time. Sometimes like solo practice rounds are fun, but when you like are always riding with people, you just play rounds with people. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I mean, obviously getting as I'm becoming super old, I need to become more independent. So
I mean, my 16-year-old got her license yesterday, so she beat you. Now you might have made 200,000 more than her this year, but she beat you to the punch on getting the license yesterday.
Hey,
so you're ready.
It's not bad in a year. All right.
You're ready though for you're ready for everything that is driving and those. Yeah, it's obviously it's a whole other world, an experience, and you've seen a lot of the country now through the the
passenger seat,
ins and outs of traveling with somebody and the fact that you're going to have a lot more familiarity than most.
I will be sleeping a lot of the road trips. I had this strategy where on Sunday of a tournament, I would just like stay up super late. That way on Monday, when we're driving to the place, I would take like a 3-hour nap in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd basically get to the place faster.
Yeah. Now you're gonna. I'm really serious in that. Like this is gonna be a considerable shift for you just from what you've been used to, and I'm sure you're up for it. I'm not saying otherwise, but I'm excited to see this next chapter in your life.
I'll buy a Tesla so I can still sleep and drive.
There you go. Those are flawless. They always work.
Safe,
the self-driving. Yeah. So.
Well, one of the things, we're going to let you get going here, but one of the things that I've always appreciated about you is your honesty and your willingness to open up and tell us pretty much everything. So I'm going to ask you, where are Isaac and Ezra going? Spill the beans now.
I have ideas of where they're going. I don't. No, they don't even know where they're going yet. I'll say that. Probably.
It's pretty
but,
soon. Yeah.
But they're going.
But
see, this is what I'm talking.
There's a chance. There's a chance they're going somewhere. Yeah.
You've been trolling on some of Isaac's posts and his countdown that he's had, and
it's so funny. It's so funny.
Okay.
Just put it out there.
Only 4 more days until the end of the season.
End of the season. Wink, wink. Yeah, end of the season. Yeah.
Huh.
You know, I know a little bit of who they may be talking to, but yeah, I don't know, and they probably don't even know where they're going. Not even close. I mean, I'd say most players don't really know where they're going until late November, at least. That's probably pretty common. Working out contracts and companies getting into bidding wars, stuff like that. You know, sometimes they want to fly you out to wherever they're located, stuff like that. Have meetings. It just takes a long time sometimes. So
here's a good follow up then. Who's the most desirable free agent in disc golf this season?
It's got to be Isaac with the 2 World Championships, I'd say. I forget who else. I mean, AB is also up.
Isn't Ricky up this year, or is he next year?
No, he would be next year, I believe.
Okay.
I think it's next year.
That's what I
But, I mean, the thing about AB is I give it about a 0% chance he's going to leave Discraft. His brand's too big there. He's already very successful with Discraft. His brand's just massive, so, and he's been playing well. So there's no reason for him to leave, and I don't even think it would make sense. You know, I've heard from Discraft that, like, you know, they're loyal, so it's you know, I think they all have a good agreement with each other, so I don't see him leaving. Oh gosh, I don't know. Cole Rodollin's up. That's going to be interesting to see where he goes. I don't know anything about that, so it's curious. It's so weird. It feels like there's always like no one. Like, it feels like, oh, all the players have already been swooped up, and then there just like happens to be more players somehow every year. But you never know. Maybe contract buyouts might happen, stuff like that. So we'll find out. You never know.
Okay. Well, they'll find out soon enough before they arrive at the Memorial, the 3rd week of the year.
That's true. You'll know.
Yeah.
You'll likely know, yeah.
Yeah, by then they'll be throwing.
But as we always say, before they announce, they should come on here and announce on Smashbox.
Yeah, everyone's
That's
welcome.
what everyone should do.
We'll take it. All right, Gannon, let's, even if you pull off a record-setting triples win next weekend, we're not going to invite you back.
No.
So you're welcome to.
Maybe we'll have Joey Tamale on next week.
You're welcome to pop in
if
you need to. You're welcome to pop in if you need to, but you will not be our headliner. So with that, knowing we may not talk to you for at least a few weeks otherwise, but give any shout outs or thanks or any. The floor is yours. Do whatever actually you want with it. But talk to the people out there.
Yep. Thank you to my sponsors. Discomania, Squatch, we'll have a bag coming out soon. Titan Disc Golf, obviously my caddy, Matt Schleibach, the whole season. He's been amazing. And all my caddies that have either been randomly popped up or I've known you and you've caddied for me at certain events. I just thank everyone. Thank you to Chump Chalk Bags. That's the chalk I use. Eagles Wings, Double G Jerky, and I'm forgetting somebody. I feel horrible. But yeah, just thanks to all my fans. Thanks to the Pro Tour for setting up the tour. Thanks to you guys, all the media people for growing disc golf. It's huge. Yeah, everyone just go out there, play some more disc golf while you can. The weather's going to get cold here in a lot of the country, so get out there, throw some frisbees, and if you want some new frisbees, maybe check out mine.
I love it. All right, Gannon. Again, we can't have you every week when you win because then you'd never get off our show. But we love having you when you're here. It was a little bit of a precursor last week after the event and said we might see you back here. And you manifested that. And we appreciate you spending the time with us. And as Johnny said, we love the openness and how you present yourself. And almost lights out. Thank you so much for joining. And yeah, have a good off season until we talk to you next time.
All right.
All right, take care. See you. Good night.
Thanks, Gannon.
Gannon Buhr, everyone.
Or as I believe it's his caddy that calls him Scogy.
Oh,
That's what it was, Terry. That's why the little thing was. You've heard that, correct?
Yeah,
you've heard people yell,
but he's not yelling "Let's go, G."
It might be, but it all comes out as Scogy. That's kind of what everybody hears. So that is
okay.
That was the tag.
I was not putting it together at the time.
Yes.
Well, now I have more questions. Now I need to know. Is it? I'm under the impression Schlabach, Matt Schlabach, is saying,
"Let's go, G."
Like, "Let's go, G."
Yeah, but he says it very fast usually, and it kind of comes
sounds
out
like
as
Scogy.
Like that. That's kind of what it's been dubbed.
See, you're just keeping me on my toes.
Keeping you on your toes, Terry Miller.
Okay, so the internet's agreeing with you.
I know. Well, because I'm right. There's not much more to say.
You know what you say about the internet, so.
Well, I mean, their internet's not always right, but.
All right, let's we'll read off our top performers this last weekend. I got him in front of us, so I'll just take it. Gannon Buhr, I don't know, he won. He was here. Took it down, the $35,000 paycheck. Of course, Ricky Wysocki, runner-up in what was just a wild. I mean, obviously you can be heartbroken for Ricky. You can also be elated for Gannon. There's just so many different storylines to run with all of it, and put whatever glasses on that you want to see that. But it was incredible, just the battle between the two of them. Ezra Robinson finishing in third comfortably is how I'd say that. He's 10 behind Ricky, but yet 4 ahead of Kelvin Heimberg and Isaac Robinson. So Kelvin and Isaac tied for 4th. Antala in 6th. James Proctor in 7th, along with Evan Smith. And then 9th place was Casey White. And Kyle Klein wraps up your top 10, or rounds out that too, at 18 under. So Kyle Klein for 10th place, receiving $4,600. Congratulations. Congrats to everyone that made it. Missy said it. It's just such an honor, really, to get there. And the fact that you're guaranteed $2,000 is awfully nice as well, at bare minimum. But it's clearly prestigious to find yourself in the top 32 or in the top 20 on the FPO side. It's a testament to what you did throughout this entire season. And great to see. Will the format stay the same? Who knows?
No, it never does.
Payout stay the same? Who knows?
No,
there's a lot of money, unknowns there, but when you're here and now, it's certainly very impressive. So congrats to all of those people.
I heard a suggestion today.
All right.
Real quick, we're talking about kind of Gannon's time issues. Would you be opposed to having, as someone had suggested, 30 seconds on the tee and on the green, or let's say 30 seconds inside circle 1? 2 places you should probably never have to take more than 30 seconds. Similar to what Gannon was saying. And then maybe 45 on the fairway.
I think the tee part's easy, but like Gannon alluded to, when are you officially clear and free of distractions to be able to throw? And then is there any form of a reset?
Do we need to be free of distractions anymore? Is it just 30 seconds? Because I thought last year they changed the rule that said distractions don't matter. If there's distractions, you still need to go.
I will just use one example. For instance, you're teeing off on hole 1 at any given course, and you're 23 seconds into your allotted time. Someone's car alarm, somebody's sitting on the key fob, and it's just honk, honk, honk. And you sometimes those, and almost instantly, and you can very quickly not think much of it. Sometimes those things drone on for a minute because somebody doesn't realize their alarm is going off. How long do you get to sit and wait or not for that? I'm just throwing out crazy scenarios of things that could happen. The only other caveat to that or immediate problem that jumps out at me is, okay, you have it listed as Circle 1. Is that at every event where you're playing in my C tier next month and I don't have Circle 1 distinctions there because I'm not putting out whiskers or paint at C1? So, hey, are you in C1 or are you not in C1?
That gets asked every time anyway. Am I in?
Yeah,
am I out?
I'm just saying, like,
usually.
I'm saying is that, just officially identifying C1 and like, hey, dude, if you were 6 inches back, you for sure would have had another 15 seconds to throw your shot, but it looked like you were in C1. So,
and it's, we're going to see something new next.
Crapping on that suggestion, and
it's not my idea. I heard somebody else talk about it, and we will have timeouts next year. additional times, I believe, where you can say, hey, I'm
that was talked about. Was that that I don't know. I'll look.
Yeah,
we're gonna have some
later.
PDGA people on here in the next few weeks, probably, and then there's a variety of topics to talk about, and then we're also I spoke to another great entity that sounds like some great off-season conversation. So looking forward to our guests throughout this season. All right, that's what we had. Is there anything else we want to quickly recap or touch on with regard to the championship?
Regarding to the
As
championship,
we talked to the two winners for quite some time tonight.
Yeah, we talked. Ricky, clearly, as we said, it was a crushing defeat for him. But knowing Ricky like I do, it's not gonna linger. It's just literally gonna make him more hungry next year. Like, that guy doesn't seem to age as far as his game goes. I mean, he's
getting better as time goes on.
Yeah, he's getting better, which is just crazy. And I truly think that this will probably just light another fire, as if he didn't need it already. This will just push him even further. And then as far as the finale goes, no, I mean, the format was fine. I think it's as much as you can ask for if this is what you're looking for. If you're looking to reward the top players throughout the season, then I think they've probably hit on arguably the right format. I don't personally love it. I like a little bit more drama, things like that. Not that this didn't provide drama, because both divisions did. It just, to me, always feels a little disheartening when you can look at the field and go, all right, it's going to be one of the top 4 people. And for what it's worth, I mean, could someone come up? Sure, it's possible. Maybe we'll say top 6. But is it going to be them anyway? Probably. But it just kind of feels like you're cutting out the rest of the field, and they're literally just playing for cash. Like, where am I? How am I getting more money? And not how am I going to get
which
the
is
win.
Maybe a perfectly fine philosophy.
It is. Again, I'm not judging. Well, I guess I am a little bit judging it, but it is. Like I said, it's just a different way to look at it. How do you want the season to end? Do you want to reward the best players? This is how you do it. Do you want a more exciting event? I think there are other ways to do it. This is a happy medium. Not my favorite, but they don't ask me. So.
That's shocking. All right, it's official. Smashbox exclusive. I'm confirming with who I assume is truly the identifiable and one and only unique Matt Schlabach, as I just butchered his name. He is on the board, and I said, so just to confirm here, Matt, you are simply saying, let's go G.
Yep.
And he said, yes, I'm saying, let's go G. So anyway, if there's any other confusion.
Yeah, no, I never doubted that. It just comes out like SCO G, which is what I think a lot of the internet has picked up on and taken and run with.
I'm missing the internet these days. Apparently I'm not all up to speed. So we all appreciate it.
I'm going to have to talk to you, Terry, about the memorial. Right now, my rating is low enough where I can go up against Mr. Schlabach in AM 40.
Oh, he's MPO though, or he's MP 40 now. He's already got an MP 40 win, if I recall.
Is he?
I'm pretty sure he has.
I thought Gannon was saying how he's going to be defending his AM 40 championship. So if so, maybe I'll have to give you a run for your money.
You won't.
Maybe I will.
He's rated like 50 points higher than you.
It doesn't matter.
Or 60 or 100.
It's AM. It's the memorial. Anything can happen. That's a Heiser fest out at Fountain. It's like riding a bike out there.
I could have sworn. No, maybe I'm incorrect. I could have swore I thought you won an MP40 event.
He says no MP40 win
yet.
Yeah.
All right, so then answer this question, Schlabach.
We're going to interview Matt Schlabach over
via the chat. Are you going to be at the memorial, and what division are you going to play? Because Johnny V would like to lose to you.
I probably
and I may even film it.
No, you wouldn't.
For the right sponsorship, I would.
I do want to stake 10 courts. That would be great.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Championship. The years in the books. It did dawn on me at one point that I continued to say it's the end of the year. It's the last round. It's the last da-da-da. Obviously, the Q Series is still going to be wrapping up. I'm covering one of the Q Series. We have the Q Series finale, which I just learned this weekend is going to have a live finale that apparently I'm not part of, which is totally understandable. But the finale of the Q series is slated to be live per the graphic I read this weekend. So that's happening in late November. So there is still technically a few more DGPT related events that are going to unfold. Obviously, people are then also rolling into the Disc Golf Network slow season, off season, however you want to call it, and the Jomez Pro Putting Game and other things, again, that I promoted this weekend, I know are going to be out there and available. Finding the Lines with Dylan Cease and Paul Macbeth and things of that nature. So Disc Golf Network, they'll continue to try to keep you entertained as best as they can, which is always, I will forever say it, it's this funny, I don't know if dichotomy is the word, just of people saying, we need more stuff, we need to be entertained, we need more stuff, even if it's not disc golf, actual like tournaments, and then it's provided in a lot of different capacities, from long form interviews to short docuseries to putting games to course, all this other stuff, but then it doesn't seem to get as much traction as all the people that are clamoring for it, which makes it full disclosure, that makes it even tough for me as a content creator, thinking like, what else do you want that's not just shot by shot golf? Yeah. And I think people trying to find that out is really difficult.
Yeah, there's not a lot of demand for that stuff. I just don't think there is. I don't know if there ever will be. We're just not there. So
is Hall of Fame Classic still a thing? It used to be the event after the finals. No, the short answer is no. It's an event that happens, but it varies in magnitude and size. And I would liken it honestly a lot to like the KC Wide Open, which has been everything from one of the biggest events on the planet a few decades ago, to then going through a few years of being either an A tier or a B tier and still having a very regional successful event, then all the way up to being a Q series or a Silver Series event to now next year being an Elite Series event. I think you're going to see it kind of come and go throughout forever, probably, in that community, as it being on a varying scale based on what the club looks like, based on the overall interest, so on and so forth. So that's where I put the Hall of Fame Classic, which has been as much as a national tour event and has been, as much as a regional event and everything in between. So, so that's the tour. We're done. Dunzos. It feels kind of weird.
I'm glad we're done.
Yeah, it feels weird.
We're getting into now. After tonight, we'll be talking, obviously, say with the PDGA a little bit. It gets to be silly season. We get to a lot of rumors that are going to be flying around out there about where players are going to or are not going to go, who's going to leave. As Gannon said, contract buyouts, which I don't know if we'll see many or any of those, but you never know. It's going to be an off season. It's like the next 3 weeks are like kind of the dark times of disc golf, where usually not a lot happens in the next 3 weeks. But you get to go to Uruguay. So
yes, I'm heading out in
have fun with that.
About 12 hours or so. Right. So I will, we'll talk about that more in the after show, but super excited. Plenty of stuff going on. Somebody said, oh, it's the off season. I was like, for some, it won't be for this guy. But yeah, plenty of things happening. All right, with that, we're going to close down the regular show. There's plenty of other random things to talk about in the after show, even though I should leave and go pack, but we're here still talking disc golf.
We won't do a long after show.
So we'll thank yet again Missy Gannon as well as Gannon Buhr, the Pro Tour, everybody else. I could go on for an hour just giving out some much deserved praise, but thank you to everyone that's had any part in yet another season within the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the Disc Golf Network. Looking forward to things continually improving and growing in the future years there. For Johnny V and myself and the Missy Gannon Buhr combo, we appreciate you guys. Stick around in the after show. We'll have a giveaway along with some other goodies for you. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBox TV's podcast. SmashBox TV podcast 529's after show.
We'll get there. Maybe for 5:30, you'll knock it out.
It didn't sound right.
I don't know why.
Somebody asked me this weekend if I ever, Nate Sexton's wife, Bree asked me, do you ever get sick of talking disc golf?
Sure. We all get a little bit.
Over a long weekend, like 4 rounds with both MPO and FPO, I don't get sick of talking about the disc golf that's on the screen. I can get frustrated with maybe some of the play or other things that are just things that are happening, but I don't know if I ever get necessarily sick of talking about it. I guess I do sometimes when I feel like there's a regurgitation and I'm like talking about what I was just talking about. That maybe sometimes can be a bit much, but no, it's I don't think I ever get sick of actually talking about it. Either way, I can't spit out some words, and that's nothing new. I do want to give a few birthday shout-outs. Robin Colvin of a very dynamic duo that's out there in Arizona. I just want to say happy birthday. I will try. Robin's been referenced before because I may or may not have gone through a red light in her BMW, but the world didn't know who it was because it wasn't her who the car is registered to. So, Robin, I'll try not to do that in your car at any other point this year. Darren Chansky celebrating a birthday, Michael Spencer, a couple other big disc golf fanatics and people. So appreciate you guys, and happy birthday to all of you.
And happy birthday to your daughter who turned 16 yesterday.
Yes, she did. I'm very, very happy. Part of the overall chaos of getting out of the Tour Championship involved taking a red-eye flight on Sunday night, which also involved an extra ride and a bunch more travel, and then a bus ride and everything else. But it was all genuinely worth it as I arrived in time for my daughter to be able to take her driver's test, which was taken about an hour from our house. Everything near us where we live was just incredibly booked up. And so one alternative was go to a city she's never been to before and take the test there. It's a much smaller, quieter city, but she was able to take the test there, and she passed with flying colors and had no dings or marks or points or whatever on her test, which was pretty cool to see. I don't think she's a perfect driver. I won't claim as much. There's definitely some challenges there, but she was able to at least trick good old Lisa at the DMV long enough, which was kind of crazy because in getting there as early as we did, we saw someone pass, a young female driver. She passed her test. She was just getting done as we were pulling up, and we overheard because the DMV there is very small. She passed her test. Then a gentleman came in and failed it miserably.
Wow.
Went through all 3 of the uncontrolleds without even thinking about looking, apparently, or slowing down. The test lady had lots to say. And she was very polite, and it was very professional and all of that. And I feel bad for the kid, but he clearly was in no way ready.
Oh, it was a kid?
He was a 16-ish year old.
Okay.
He was in no way ready to be taking the test, at least per the test woman, because he had a whole list of what seemingly were basic things. I did hear her say that he was looking the wrong way when he wanted to turn. And I just think like that, yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Wow.
Like you should probably look for, the closest oncoming traffic. So, and I'm not making light of him failing, but I do feel better knowing he needs to go back and practice more before he's released into the wild. So congrats to my daughter on, it's still scary. It's more scary because now I know
that she
can drive a vehicle.
Yeah. Did she drive to school today?
No. Nope.
All right.
We live super close to the school. I think by the time you drive to the school and then have to park way out wherever you do,
It's quicker to walk.
We're not quite that close, but it feels silly
I just
for her
remember
to drive to school from where we live relative to her school.
growing up when I got my license. I got it on a Monday morning. It was really cool to be able to drive to school that afternoon, right after getting it, and I still had to park like a block and a half away because it was a city school in Appleton West. But it was just like, yeah, I got my license. You come in, you're just like, yeah, I got my license. Like I drove here.
I'm cooler than you.
Yeah.
I said this last night, even as we were after her test. I don't hold it against anyone. I was fortunate enough to get my license on my first test. I don't hold it against anyone that doesn't. It's so insanely nerve-wracking. And there's a few things, as we all know, there's a few things that if you just do the wrong thing can basically be an instant fail. And so I've never looked down upon or second guessed anyone that didn't get through it on their first time. And then there was the nervousness even more for me. It was on her 16th birthday. So it's like, that's a really good or terrible. There's just so many people that are like, yeah, I took it on my birthday and I didn't get it. And I think that forever is ingrained in you. Even if you took it the day after your birthday, at least you didn't have your birthday ruined by, by failing it. So for some of those reasons, I'm especially happy for her. So we'll see how things continue to go. I already put her to running a couple errands today. She had to go pick up her sister somewhere. Yeah. She had to deliver some bags and some boxes to UPS
I'm so
and USPS.
Sorry, Allie.
If she wants to earn rights to using the vehicle, she might have to make some disc deliveries for me, and it's only fair. It's only fair.
It is. You're right.
So, or Darren says, I failed parallel parking first time. Totally get that. She did not have to do that for what it's worth. Yeah. It's I don't remember anything about my test. I remember I passed it. That's literally all I remember.
I remember I passed it. I vaguely remember having to do parallel parking and a Y turn.
I feel like Y turns are.
I just happen to remember because I remember literally where I did it in Appleton. Just I couldn't tell you the street exactly, but I know the general vicinity. On one of those side streets, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I had to do that. But the rest of it, honestly, it's a blur. We're old now; those memories go away.
No, they apparently weren't terrible. Robert on the board says the next time a pro from Finland is interviewed, a good topic would be the Finland driver's license. I hope it parallels Simon's German license. I'll say this: the limited experiences I've had in Estonia, Finland, Sweden, Norway. From where I've been, I haven't seen a lot of police, but people just actually I did. I got pulled over this year. I was gonna say people go the speed limit. In those places, people
it's not.
They
5
just follow
over.
the law.
It's not 5, 7 over.
Even if it's over. But I mean, you're not, and it's so inviting because you can be on a road and you're thinking, there's nothing but trees out here. It's like being up in northern Wisconsin, just absolutely beautiful, a 2-lane highway, and you're like, yeah, I could comfortably be doing 70 right now or 65, but the speed limit might only be 45, and it's so damn inviting to do way over. But then you are near other people, and they're not massively exceeding the speed limit. It's something I noticed the very first time we went to Finland in 2019. Was like, why are these people all going so slow? And I don't drive like a crazy person or anything like that, but they just go the speed limit. They stop for pedestrians. It's a totally different world over there. It's crazy. So
people stop for pedestrians in other cities than Milwaukee.
Not the way they do it in Estonia and Finland. I'm saying
I bet you in Madison they kind of do it like that, because I remember being in Madison and someone yelled at me. This is when I was probably 18 or 19. I was on UW-Madison's campus, and that's just a place where everybody knows that people and bikes have right of way, which in general is the correct thing, but not when I always took right of way as you have the right of way at a legal intersection, not, hey, this person's just going to wander out in the middle of the fucking road while you're driving and you need to hit your brakes. And that's how Madison, like the campus was. And I hated it. Like, I remember being so upset because people would just walk out in front of you. You're driving on this 25-mile-an-hour road, and a student just decides they're going to cross, not at an intersection, they're going to cross because that's where they cross. And you need to be paying, like, have your head on a swivel and stop. And my buddy's like, yeah, that's just how it is here. And I'm like, this is dumb. I hate this place. like I'm sorry. I'm a 2,000-pound vehicle. You need to keep an eye out if you're not going to cross at an intersection.
I will say that when I've been in Finland and Estonia specifically, someone sitting at a crosswalk or that's approached a crosswalk, you don't even think about just going through and them going after you.
No, you stop.
Get to that crosswalk and everybody is stopping for you. Yeah. And it's the way it should be, but it's not the way what happens here more often. And that was one thing that I thought was, but then again, that goes hand in hand with there's a million times more walking in most of these other cities and countries than what we have. So it's been a real eye opener being over there. Anyway. I put the link to the registration. I sent it to Gannon Buhr, but also I put it in the notes for anyone thinking about the memorial.
Well, Schlebach said he could not sign up yet, probably because his rating and the event it's probably not for a couple more days, is my guess, for MA40.
I'm not sure. I know previous winners, but I don't know of which divisions and so on and so forth. But
he is a previous winner.
Either way, yes, for anyone that's interested in that. Also, I'll follow that up with more tournament register. We're talking tournament reg. Cold Turkey is officially available. That was just opened up last night. I had a couple dozen people sign up. I didn't expect some massive flood by any means, but it is available. It's limited to just 72 players on Saturday, 72 different players on Sunday via the divisions. And then I will have the flex start at Red Fox on Saturday. So if you can't give a whole day to either Saturday or Sunday and you just want to come out and get 18 holes in at Red Fox, I'm again doing that flex start. So that's all available. It's all on Disc Golf Scene, and hope to see many of you there, as many as you can make it, be there and stuff. Yeah. And then as we were closing out the regular show, just mentioning I'm going to be joining a handful of people and heading to Uruguay tomorrow. Maybe depending when you're hearing this, but on Wednesday I'll be heading there and super excited. That will be the first course ever, and it'll be going into Montevideo. And yeah, that's all I can say. I'm excited. You'll see plenty of posts, I guess is my point there.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's another new country, and I guess I've never thought about it. I've never been to a country as their very first, and that's exactly the mission of the Macbeth Foundation. And so to show up and know that we are installing and teaching literally the first ever disc golfers that are residing in that entire country, it just really dawned on me how impactful and crazy.
You should bring an Ontario rock and just leave one there. I'm
gonna bring one and probably throw it.
I know,
but I don't know if I'm going to leave it. I mean, I love spreading the love, but I don't. Certain plastic I don't love giving away. All right, let's see if there's anything else out there. Robert is on the board. Good to see you guys. Theron says, yeah, I drove in Iceland in July. Don't you dare speed. Cameras everywhere. Yeah, that's another component. Clearly, I think a lot of those places can be administered simply by having the cameras mounted everywhere, where it feels like you should be able to just do 75 and it's really only 55, and you're like, but there's no one around. What are you most looking forward to most in the off season?
Disc golf related or just in general?
Yeah, disc golf related. Well, in any capacity.
Well, I mean, clearly for me, it's updating Skip Ace, just getting all the features. I've got a lot of work to do on it. I'm not actually on the site because the site is virtually finished. I'm literally putting some final touches on it. I was trying to quickly build a new feature last night, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to nail that down or not. But just putting it up on the actual site, because right now it's just on a kind of a local dev site, recording videos for instructions, like, hey, this is the new feature, this is what I'm going to do here. Maybe putting together a 15 or 20-minute video just announcing all the new features that are coming, and then probably splitting those up for each new feature and putting them on the Skip Ace YouTube page, which is almost non-existent. I think there's only 1 or 2 videos out there right now. But in the past, I've also not been able to, I didn't have the time, because usually we were finishing up with new features in late January, if not, mid-February, try to roll this out. But with me having more or less all the features complete now that I think I'm going to take care of, I'm actually going to probably roll the site out in the next week or two, maybe even run some test events over the next month or so, just to put it out there, just to kind of see how things fly, and then record the videos. And that's honestly what I'm most looking forward to, is being able to get a good head start on a lot of the things I've always wanted to do and just never had the time before a season starts. It's going to be nice to not even have to think about disc golf play our players, like not keeping up, because I do. I keep up for this, but also because I enjoy watching. Every weekend I put it on the TV. If I'm doing stuff around the house, I'll stop and sit for 10 or 15 minutes, watch what's going on. I don't have to do that now. I'm sure my wife will appreciate that as well. But yeah, that's what I'm most looking forward to, is just getting Skip Ace up to date and updated. And then that's it. And then obviously contract talk is always fun, figuring out who's going where, why they're going there, things like that.
I hope this changes, but I don't know why contract talk at this exact moment doesn't seem nearly as exciting to me. And
like right now, or just this year?
Just in general. Like I don't know why I'm losing. And again, I hope this changes. It'll
probably change as you start to hear whispers, as you start to. You're pretty well in contact with a lot of pros. You might hear some things before. Usually they are public. It might light a little bit of a fire, but also maybe it's because we've seen a contraction in the sport. You're probably not going to hear of, if Isaac Robinson in his position, he's got 3 majors under his belt right now. If he had signed a contract 2 years ago, it would probably be 30, 40, 50% bigger than the contract he's going to sign today. Just based on where we are in the sport. I don't think Isaac is going to be hurting for whatever contract he gets. He shouldn't be. He's one of our top 5 players in the world right now. But it's just a matter of, like, things have scaled down a little bit. And I wonder if maybe that is diminishing your excitement for it, that we're not going to see like this big crazy.
No, you know what I think it is I am no longer going to be shocked by anyone going anywhere. That maybe has why I'm no longer as excited or interested, because I remember thinking, oh, there's no way on the planet Paul McBeth leaves Innova. There's no way in the world, a Gannon is going somewhere, or whatever the case might be. Gannon's maybe a bad example.
That was a bad example.
We heard a lot of rumors.
Yeah.
But just there were some of those things that you never thought would happen. And now it feels like anything's on the table. And we saw it this season with the fact that Vino and KJ
moved
literally mid-season. Like, clearly that was essentially unprecedented, at least to that level. It was unprecedented. Now I just feel like there's no longer no one's going to go anywhere that's going to shock me. Oh, and the fact that I'm sorry, maybe more specifically, thinking about Simon and Eagle both leaving Discmania, the brands that they were 100% brought up in terms of being professional players, and then to see them over the last couple of seasons also move. Now, I'm not begrudging anyone, I'm not mad about it or anything silly like that. I guess the shock factor or the surprise is 100% gone now. And so maybe I'm thinking, okay, well, this top player is going to go to this company that I would have never maybe thought before, but they are? Okay.
Shock maybe isn't the right word anymore. I do think there can still be excitement. I mean, it's not how much different is it than, us growing up? We were at the tail end of most sports. When a player was there, they were there. Like,
yeah.
Your favorite baseball player, probably, growing up in the 80s, was probably a lifetime person on that team. It's just how it was. That's not the case anymore. Like, it just, if a player stays on a team more than 3 to 4 years, it's kind of surprising, unless they are literally one of the best players in the world, which then they get the top contract for 5, 6, 8, 10 years these days. And even then, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be traded to another team that's going to take over their contract. So maybe there's part of that in you and I still ingrained, but now we're seeing it in disc golf.
Yeah, that volatility is now here so much more across all sports.
Across all sports, it has come into our sport where you and I both know that, like, and a player used to be with a team long term. We saw, when we were younger, we saw JK move from Discraft to Innova, and that was a big deal at the time. Like, wow, she's moving. And then, the next probably real big move was the Prodigy move. All these players suddenly go to Prodigy. And there were some other smaller moves in there.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
But you want to talk about, like, big moves. And then Paul Macbeth leaves Innova. And at that point, then you're like, oh, anything's possible.
Yeah, that was the moment for me. Was that, like, okay, almost all bets are off. Because that's one that I just didn't anticipate with the success he had with them at that time. And with Innova being the number one brand, we'll say undeniably at the time, before Paul left, I just never thought I would see that separation. And then it came about, and now everything is since then on the table. So,
yeah. So I mean, you're right. There's like 6 main disc golf brands that our players are going to go to.
Yeah.
And our top players, probably, if they want a manufacturer's contract. Will we see, with the contraction, will we see players go, will manufacturers drop players? I guess is my question. Is this an opportunity for players or for manufacturers to go, yeah, we don't need you on our second tier team. Someone like let's look at Brody Smith, who is signed to this. He's made it clear his contract is up at the end of the season. He's made it clear that touring isn't his main priority anymore. He's still going to play, but not nearly to the extent. Is this a good time that Discraft is going to be like, we can, might as well just cut it. You can either be part of our second tier team if you're not going to be a tour, or does he push enough plastic and sell enough plastic where they're fine with still having him on the team on like their top tier team? I don't know the answer to that. My guess is he still probably pushes a decent amount of plastic, but we've seen a contraction. We've seen a lot of scale back. Do they want to have their top team be primarily touring players? I don't know the answer, but this could be a chance for manufacturers to kind of just reset and get rid of some of the schluff, so to speak. The players that maybe they don't really care that much about or don't want,
or are underperforming and are not making waves. I think that would be. I think this might be the time where there is some contraction, so to speak.
Lowball them, and if they don't take it, they don't take it.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're going to get $15,000 a year this year, and you're going to get 1,000 discs with your name on it, and those sell. Cool. If not, take it or leave it. There ain't many other opportunities out there. So I'm really curious to see how this offseason goes with players and contracts.
Well, then it naturally begs the question: will a more common approach become the open bag or mixed bag variety? Meaning, you may get some level of sponsorship from company X, but then you're also getting a decent amount from Y, Z, and whatever else. Will that become more popular? Because that's a way that one company doesn't have to spend so much on you, However, you're still able to round up enough sponsorship so that you can still be on the road and on the tour.
Maybe.
Just possible. I don't know.
I will. One of the things that will surprise me is when we see the first true dual manufacturer sponsored player, like an MVP in Innova, a Discraft and Prodigy. Like that is the type of.
I mean that happens now, but
no.
not with those titans of.
Look at look at the people who are sponsored by multiple players. I mean, it's almost always like Infinite and whoever makes Infinite's discs.
Sure. Well, look at James. Yeah, James Proctor being ThoughtSpace and Clash at one point.
Mm-hmm. ThoughtSpace isn't a manufacturer.
But I'm just saying, those are still two like disc sellers.
They're disc sellers, sure, but they're not manufacturers. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like when someone has two of our biggest manufacturers.
Nico had Legacy and MVP at one point.
You're right. He did have that. That was back in the day. He did have that.
Yeah, you're right though.
But
will we ever? I mean, because clearly you're not going to see someone you're not going to see someone with a sponsorship of both Innova and Discraft.
Why not?
At the same time.
Again, why not? If you can, like, I don't see why you could not, like my bag. I'm not comparing myself to a sponsored player, but my bag, I throw primarily Innova drivers. I do have a couple other ones in there, and almost exclusively Discraft mids. Because I love the comment and I love the buzz.
Oh, look at your phone's already ringing. They're trying to.
Oh my God. It's InnovaCraft. They want to sponsor me. No, but I mean, and then, or having if you're Ganon, let's just say Discmania as your putter and then somebody else as your driver. Like just something you're comfortable with. I don't know if we'll see that or not. It wouldn't be clearly one of the big money contracts, but is that something that
I think anyone that has a full lineup likely isn't going to be on board with that. And the people that have been quote unquote on board with that have usually been the slightly smaller or companies that are coming up, or like a Drew Gibson who has Infinite, but then also his company, but then also exclusively his putter is the EV7 putter.
EV7 6.
So
EV7.
I mean, that's an interesting. I mean, that goes in line with what you're saying, but those are also all very small compared to.
And almost none of those companies make their own discs. They almost all sublet their discs to other companies, like the bigger manufacturers. None of those companies to me are really manufacturers. Their molds are somewhere else. They don't make their own. And again, that's a fine distinction. I understand. But speaking of Drew Gibson, congratulations.
Heck yeah.
Drew Gibson.
Daddy.
Going to be bringing
Daddy Drew. I've been calling him that for years.
that's
Different
weird
connotation.
That's weird.
Yes, Drew Gibson this weekend making the announcement along with his significant other, Michaela. Also known as
Jen Allen's daughter.
So Jen
Grandma
Allen. Grandma Jennifer Allen, who also made a post saying, of course, that she's elated and excited for what's to come. But yes, Jennifer Allen, this all goes, if you're just strictly going on outside optics of age, most people wouldn't look at Jennifer Allen and think, hey, that's Grandma.
No, but in today's day and age, nothing surprises me.
No, and I'm not making
she's
any.
In her mid-40s. She's our age. There's.
So congratulations to everyone involved. Jennifer Allen, who, like I said, excitedly made a post as well, said, in fact, I'll read it. She says, I'm beyond excited to share the news that I'm gaining a new title. Congratulations, Michaela and Drew. Your heart is about to learn a completely new kind of love that is so strong and beautiful. I can't wait to hold and love this precious little baby. So her saying her new title, Grandma.
I've got a relative that's our age. That's a great-grandmother. 18, and 18, my friend.
Okay, I'm not doing any. Yeah, I was not trying to do math.
It's just that's.
No,
not shocking.
That's great.
Our age, maybe it's even 17. I don't know, but it's like it's just one of those things. That's to me, that's kind of like, eh.
I know, but just knowing Jen's lifestyle,
yeah,
being on the road, and
she doesn't
seeing
look
her,
grandmotherly.
and so that's my point.
I'm with you there. I get it.
Actively involved in a million
and
things.
Because if I said anything else, she'd probably kill me.
I'd help her.
I know, and I respect Jen Allen, and I like her, and I don't want her to, I don't want her to kill me or threaten me.
Could be entertaining for some of us.
I was going to say I could probably outrun her, but I don't even think I could. So
no, not even close. It's funny you would utter such a phrase.
I got longer legs.
I don't care.
But she's in
so
way
if
better
it's
shape.
longer than 6 feet, you're getting beat by her.
I give
she
myself
like runs
20.
on like a treadmill and stuff.
I give myself 20 feet, but
no, I still give it to Jen. We can make this all happen at the memorial.
That's true. We could. I
will record it.
We'll have a race, like a foot race. Me and Jen Allen.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
We'll do that.
Put that in the Skip Ace bets while we're at it.
I have no doubt she'll probably beat me.
Following that up, I will say, has there been any other conversations that you've seen and either know or could speculate on about disc golf, about betting within disc golf? And I know the Pro Tour, had that announcement about these committees and people looking into it and all that stuff. But so you've never heard or seen anything else?
I haven't heard or seen anything else about any gambling in disc golf. It's kind of funny because, like I said, with a lot of these plans were being made as disc golf was exploding, and now that we're contracting, is there even a significant market for that? Does anybody care? Are there any betting companies out there that care about this stuff anymore? Like, obviously, the Pro Tour would love to have something like that, because I'm assuming they would, or even the PDGA, I'm assuming they'd probably find a way to try to get a cut of it. But I don't know.
Okay.
No, but I haven't heard anything.
I just know that there was that much more chatter about it, I think, as of late. Or maybe it's just every time a big event rolls around and a lot of people say, disc golf's not going to take off until we have betting. Yeah. I don't personally agree with that statement. I think that's a very
single-minded way to think about it.
Yeah. And so I don't think that's necessarily it. But people continue to call for it, and there's obviously steps that need to happen. And I know some of those things have been started. That process has been started for some. So I don't know that I have a lot more. I don't know if the group out there, the chat board, does. If you guys do, start lobbing them in there or letting me know what you think. But I don't have a ton more. I didn't realize we've also already been on for 3 hours and 20 minutes. So with that, I think we can get at least to the drawing. And if anyone has stuff before we go cut loose after that, let me know. But I'm ready for the drawing.
Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Please support us. That's it. Just please support us.
Wow.
Go to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. All your support helps, and we love you. Now, 120 people are eligible for our giveaway tonight. Terry Miller.
Dang.
What number should we draw?
Ooh, I do have an update regarding our Patreon giveaways.
Okay.
A gentleman wrote back, one of our patrons. I think it was Mike, if I recall. I got an email from him today. He got the jerky recently that I purchased from Soar, and he said he absolutely loved it. So
that's
glad
phenomenal
to hear that. Maybe we'll give away some more jerky.
Okay, we can give away jerky tonight.
Jerky?
Let's
do it. Number 4.
Our fourth number.
First Pro Tour win for Gannon Buhr in terms of the championship. 3 for Gannon. That gives us 4.
All right.
Missy Gannon, that is.
I assume
the better Gannon, clearly. She's got 3.
She's 2 more better than Gannon Buhr.
Some quick math.
That's right. Our first number is 115. Our second number is 70. Our third number is 72. And our fourth and final number, higher or lower than 72, Terry?
Ooh, it's almost right in the middle. I'm going to go higher.
It is 21.
Close.
You are always wrong. I love it.
That's true. It does feel like I am.
I know. That's why I love it. 21 is the number. I sorted them by email address tonight.
Yeah, you did.
So 21 is Carl Davis. Carl Davis.
That's a name I haven't seen in a while. He's very cool.
He is a $5 supporter at the Studio Mini level. Congratulations, Carl. You're gonna get some jerky.
Love it. Huh. A side note: I also took my other daughter to do some TSA testing today. I guess it's not testing. Should go
So
to the
did you pass?
TSA enrollment place. We went to this kind of place down by Southridge. It was in a strip mall setting,
Okay.
right off of 76 here in South Milwaukee, not far from our friends at Explorium Brew Pub. Went in, got checked in, all this stuff. She's 13, so we have officially brought in a real ID, so to speak, and her birth certificate. That's all that was needed.
She has an ID?
Yeah, that was a whole nother long
Okay.
process, but I made it happen. Yeah, we
All
went
right.
to the DMV 2 weeks ago to get her an ID so that she could make the TSA process easier, which is all fine and dandy. We're in there. It's just me and my 13-year-old daughter, and then this other woman who is taking the fingerprints and then basically just making a photocopy of the documents. The door is open. We're in like a little side office. The door's open. Nothing. There's been no private questions asked of any kind. I feel like my TSA, my original TSA and passport, I feel like we're both incredibly interrogating. I feel like that's the standard. So I've kind of set that expectation. Well, the door's open and my daughter's getting her fingerprints, and in rolls the receptionist lady, front desk clerk, receptionist person. She kind of just looks at me and she's like, autocorrect, just crazy. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of is. Can be. Is this a stand-up that we're getting into here or what?
What's the deal with autocorrect?
Yeah, I'm gonna say she's 65-ish. Like, okay. She is clearly holding her phone, ready to show her coworker her phone. And she's just like, yeah, it's just crazy. Last week, my girlfriend tried to send something or other, and it corrected this word to that word. I was like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I don't send anything, without looking at it or whatever. I was like, okay. I'm like uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're
Like,
uncomfortable with the small talk.
You've just kind of randomly not
in
barged
this scenario.
She didn't like have to open a door or come barging in, but she's in there, and we're clearly preoccupied doing this stuff. And then at that point is when her coworker that was helping out my daughter, it's like, yeah, good thing she's kind of looking at me and kind of addressing the receptionist, saying like, yeah, good thing we're kind of loose around here, because this wouldn't fly like in a normal office setting, which I think is like her way of kind of apologizing to me, like,
oh, sure,
that this woman is really fixated on freaking an autocorrect story, like, and at that point she has now almost shoved it in her coworker's face to have her look at it. Like none of this is important enough for you to be interrupting us at all.
Yeah.
Whatever random text or email you're sending to your friends is not enough it was very uncomfortable, because I knew exactly what her coworker was thinking, because I feel like I was thinking the same, and it was just a matter of then like shrugging her off and hoping she'd just kind of go away. It was bizarre. And I guess I set it up with being TSA and the thought like, there's clearly some sensitive documents being handed around, birth certificates, social security cards, IDs. And then I just think, what is this Yahoo lady? Yeah. Where are the limits to how not smart she'll be? It was a bizarre moment. And I thought I'd share it with you guys. It was so, even my daughter, when we walked out, she's like, that was kind of strange how she was like trying to show us her phone. I'm like, yeah. It's a freaking autocorrect. Like, this was maybe funny or enlightening or entertaining 20 years ago.
1999.
Right? 20 years ago, maybe. Anyway, there's my hot rant for the night. It's not really a rant, but it was bizarre.
Okay.
So I just thought I'd share.
Well, thanks.
Share that with you. We got canes though, and life was all good after that.
I've never had canes.
Johnny V doesn't know how to live, folks.
No.
All right.
No, I had Zaffiro's pizza last night.
Ooh, that sounds good, though.
It was.
God, it's been 25 years since I've been there. 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 20 years, right? Yeah, it's been a minute.
Not 20.
What year is it? 2004? Maybe not 20, but probably 15. For sure 15.
15. Yeah. Yeah.
Since I've had Zafiro's Pizza.
Yeah. Because
at least.
We went there for Dane's.
Did we?
Yeah. We went to Zafiro's.
Okay, then that would have been 8 years. That shows you how much I remember. 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, that was probably not. Yeah, 9.
Okay, well then it was 8 or 9 before that. Then
okay,
so
yes,
combined maybe. So once in 15
yes,
years.
we went.
I didn't remember that. I didn't remember.
We went to the one downtown Milwaukee, right next to the
the
Kinko's
on Farwell area?
Farwell. Yeah, we went there for the dinner, the rehearsal dinner.
Oh,
just saying, Terry. But anyway, went there last night. I actually didn't have the pizza. I had something else at Zafiro's. My son had the pizza. I shared a piece, but it was the last volleyball game of the season. So we're done with volleyball now, and I'm looking at possibly getting a fitness membership to one of the local elite sports fitness ones so that he can go practice with his friends in the off season when he's not doing robotics, which takes up a majority of his time. So.
I thank you for, was it Tim that just put it on the board? Yes. Especially after all the controversy that surrounded it initially. The Bud Hill Masters event did take place this weekend. Thank you. Or the Masters at Bud Hill is the official title. And Batman, Dutch Napier, took it down in a playoff.
100th win.
Yes, what a cool way to get. Not that any win wouldn't be cool to get as your 100th, but yes, Dutch took it down in a playoff over Matthew Blakely. So congratulations to him and to everyone. I'll see Tyler in Uruguay, so I'm probably going to get more updates. I know he wasn't physically there, but of course it was him and Soren, his brother, and everyone else that were able to still make that event go off. JK, Juliana Korver, held off Des Redding and won by 3. And then Jay Redding took it down in MP50. So congratulations to him. Tim Keith in MP60. Marcia Ness went uncontested and took down FP60. And Mark Bowman took down MP70. So there's a quick little update. Awesome.
Happy to see it all wrap up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm excited to hear more details about the event, which I'll probably get when arriving in another country. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Again, congrats to Missy Gannon as well as Gannon Buhr.
Are you going to be back here next Tuesday?
I will not be here next Tuesday. That's a good call. And I think the time zones might be weird, so I don't know if I'll be joining or not.
We'll figure it out.
Keep you posted on that. But if not, you can catch up with some other incredible co-hosts. Somebody that's got to try and fill my not so large shoes.
Not so large shoes. Someone that won't make it awkward.
Awkward. So what's the right way?
Awkward. AWK. Awkward.
Awkward. Yeah, I say awkward.
Me too. I say awkward too.
Awkward.
But it is.
Oh, that's going to take some getting used to. Awkward. Because I always say awkward.
Yeah, but it's actually awkward.
Awk like hawk.
Awk like hawk.
We're learning every day here, people. Thanks for joining us. This has been SmashBox TV Podcast 529's After Show. Johnny V will for sure be with you next week. I may or may not, but either way, have a good night. Have a good week. We'll see you next week. You step inside the SmashBox.